Greg, I'm delighted by this new development of you being in here more days than one. And I wanted to talk to you because they were complaining about the Shadow Show the other day, not knowing what it was.
Why would anybody complain? Like, they don't get to see what that sound is actually being made by right now?
Right, no, but it's because I'm coming in, and the idea is we don't know we're on the air, so I'm getting lint brushed right now, as I do 10 minutes before we start, because this is meant to be something that we don't know we're on the air. We're just trickling in, we're just coming into work, and we're talking to just our YouTube friends before we've started. We're not presently prepared to do the show. We're just sitting around talking, and so I was delighted when I saw Greg today.
Is that suede?
I don't know.
It's not cold enough for suede.
I am in the portion of my year where my wife starts buying anniversary and Christmas gifts and birthday
Happy
gifts.
anniversary, by the way, Dan.
My wardrobe gets improved.
5 years. Wow. Congrats to you
That's
and
a
Valerie.
big one. Not a lot of people wearing suede anymore.
Especially down in South
Let's bring it
Florida.
back.
There are some things in our life that we figured it out in like the 90s and we haven't needed to improve it. The lint roller. I mean, I'm sure, when did we come up with the lint roller as it is now? There's no improvements. There's no technological advances. It's just a lint roller, and it still crushes like it did in the 90s.
Plus, there's not a speck of lint on that Nehru jacket.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things that's happening right here, thank you. One of the things that's happening right here is because the jacket is so freshly out of the case, it doesn't have a dollop of lint on it. Everything in my house has cat hair on it. Everything in my house.
I can relate.
I can't leave my house without cat hair being on something. But this has never been worn before because I just got it for my anniversary. Mike, you're the only one around here that does those things up in the most romantic fashion, right? Like, I haven't heard other people around here get like really, symbolically, romantically attached to anniversaries.
I don't think I'm near your level, pal. No, I think that you take the cake on that one, and that's not. I'm not saying that to shade you. You make everybody else look bad by comparison. You've got a very public, wonderful love story.
Wow. Like, what have you done for your 5th anniversary?
What does he know that I've done?
I know.
I'm confused by what it is that he's reacting
look,
to.
You're
It's
a very
not like
emotional
I do this
guy.
publicly.
You're emotional on a Monday after a Dolphins game. Like, you'll find platitudes in those things. I mean, a 5-year anniversary, I can't even imagine the letter you wrote for Valerie. God.
Oh, it wasn't letters. It was a scavenger hunt. Platitudes?
Scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I've never done a scavenger hunt ever.
Platitudes?
Wow. Was it naughty?
A naughty scavenger.
Yeah,
Yeah, what
I'm
was at the
picturing it.
end of it?
Yeah, baby.
Dan on
That's
the
what
pool
I'm
table.
Your dick.
It was a naughty scavenger hunt, wasn't it?
It was not a naughty scavenger hunt. Look, thinking of you.
Baby.
The 5-year anniversary gift is wood.
Yeah, what's under that?
It's not Uncle Dick.
Come on,
Is
man.
it really wood?
Is it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's great.
Jessica is beaming again because her Steelers are winning in maximum Steeler ways to be able to strangle the Ravens. How much press conference did you soak in last night?
I snorted the whole thing in one shot.
How excited were you to see 6 field goals defeat the Ravens? Man, this one's funny. Beating the Ravens 8 out of 9 times, and all of a sudden Justin Tucker shows you, the margin for winning is if when your kicker's the greatest, you have 2 losses a season. And when he's bottom of the league, you have 4, and nobody understands how you have 4 losses.
They had no idea how good they had it. None. No Ravens fan that I knew. He's the greatest of all time, but he was such a game changer. Late game situations changes the entire dynamic when you realize, I only need 25 yards here on this drive. It was such an unprecedented weapon, and now that he's kind of mid-tier, he's no longer the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
It's not. No, it's not mid-tier. He's now bottom of the league. Like, missing 2 yesterday makes him one of the worst kickers in the league, and the margin for error there is such that the Jets were using their 4th kicker in 4 weeks. Like, if you're not above 80%, they'll run you out, and he right now is in like the low 70s.
I'm confused as to what's happening with the kicking game because There was a time that I would have told you a couple of years ago the two greatest kickers that I'd ever seen in my entire life were Justin Tucker and Evan McPherson, and they can't buy a meaningful make right now.
I will tell you that watching Tucker and seeing the Ravens have 4 losses, when I'm like, no, that's one of the best teams in the league. Like, I know that's one of the best teams in the league. I don't think that they should have 4 losses. And it made me appreciate, in retrospect, Vinatieri and how different it would have or could have all been for the Patriots if they, too, hadn't had one of those machines that, like, changed. If the games are being decided by 3 points, 5 points, and you're surprised, that once every 2 months what happens to the Jags happens in that sport. Like, usually the games are pretty close. I don't know how we slept for so long on the idea that they had a field goal kicker that sort of tilted everything toward them being 15-2 or 13-4, as opposed to they've already got 4 losses. And you're like, well, in all of the victories, all of the games are close, and they could have won all of them, and they would have won yesterday's if their field goal kicker makes a couple of kicks.
I think that fans of division rivals of the Ravens are keenly aware from watching those games and knowing it's like sending Steph Curry to the free throw line. When you have Lamar Jackson, who can escape almost all sorts of pressure, and you have a guy that routinely would make 58-yard field goals. It was a crazy weapon that they had, and the NFL in that conference especially, but it seems really wide open. When you're trying to evaluate if the Ravens can come out of that conference, this whole new world of Justin Tucker, where now the most accurate kicker in NFL history is Eddie Pinheiro and not Justin Tucker, it's a whole new world for them.
So, Chris, what's happening here is that you see, on Monday we come in and you got to get some of the air out of the tires. Everybody's got a lot. We haven't been on for a couple of days. We just saw Mike Tyson's ass. Like, everyone's revving, and now Greg Cody's here. Like, Stugotz and Billy are about to bomb in. They do the God Bless Football. They're first to market. They get out here, and they do it as fast as they can to get God Bless Football in their takes, and they're going to thunder in here in a second. But this show is supposed to be us just trickling into work, not a Ravens-Steelers conversation suddenly breaking out, because that's not how we talk when we're just trickling into work.
Well, let's just redo this conversation after the show starts then, because I can definitely do that. I can talk about this all day, Dan.
But I don't want to redo it. I want to do it better. The show started as far as I'm concerned. Like, here, Billy's coming in now. Mike's got to move seats. Greg Cody is in on a Monday. When did this change? Because Monday, usually, we don't need very much help. We're just galloping along because football Mondays, it gets crowded in here, even if it's just 3 of us.
Yeah, I got a text from your executive committee. I think it was Sunday, saying, hey, can you do Monday and Tuesday? And normally I'm accustomed to Tuesday only. This Monday I could do because I'm going straight from the studio to a Marlins press conference at 3 p.m., so the timing of it worked out great. Happy to be here.
So we were on your way to work. You wear a nicer shirt for a Marlins press conference than you do for your appearances here.
Well, I'm having a bad arm week. I am. I'm having a bad arm week. I don't even want to show you the evidence of it, but just trust me on
it. Bruises?
Bruises implies my wife is beating me again. No, they're not bruises. They're just like old age.
Yeah, when does that happen? It's starting to happen to my dad too, where he's like avoiding my dog at all costs because
Jumpin' Charlie caused this. Jumpin' Charlie jumped on me and he touched his giant claw, like a pterodactyl claw, on my arm.
Okay, wait a minute.
So
you bruise easily is what it is.
Right.
So what we're talking about is you are coming in here scarred and marred by your dog.
Yeah, I bruise easily. I also hurt easily, Dan. I hurt easily. And I bruise easily. I'm full of emotion. The older I get, I'm full of emotion for the good and the bad. And I'm having a bad arm week, so I look more dressed up than I am.
Well, you're just wearing a long-sleeve shirt, which isn't normally what you do around here. You look nicer for your Marlins press conference
than I'm already sweating.
Than you ever look when you come in here dressed,
Thank you.
Well, am I wrong?
No. I used to wear T-shirts in here, and now I'm getting all dressed up. You're wearing a suede Nehru jacket. I feel the pressure to dress up a little bit. It's not just the press conference. It's the bad arm week. And from now on, you're going to see me. I'm going to start wearing suits, tuxedos, top hats. It's going to be a new me.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. Out here I'm chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but minds keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz, I'm in the awkward position here of I kind of want to mutiny against my own company because of some of the things that are befalling us.
I'm in.
Okay, so you ride with me no matter what. Mutiny against the company, because I come in here today and I'm like, can you guys get me that photo of Mike Tyson's ass? And then a conversation breaks out and a meeting breaks out and everybody's talking about, well, you know, we got sponsors and we're in a contract year and it's not worth it to put an old man's ass on the screen. You're just making the same joke everybody else is making. But that's not the reason that I'm mutiny is where I'm headed against the company.
Okay.
The place that I have to side with Cody is our COO has written me an email in which he says, look at how Cody invoices the company. And Cody invoices the company by just sending an email saying, you owe me this.
Works for me.
Yes.
And so our COO is like, no, we've got a computerized system. We've got a system of expenses. You've got to invoice somebody technologically correctly. It's not just sending someone an email.
What they have is a system that prevents employees from entering an invoice. That's what it makes it more difficult.
And so I have to side on the laziness and the technological ineptness of my two friends here and be like, you know what? I don't want to live in a time where I can't just fire off an email and that passes for an invoice. That's how America should be. Stop with your crypto coin. Stop with your bookkeeping. Stop with your DocuSigns. Just allow me to send you an email saying this is what you owe me, and then send me my money, because that's written proof that I have in my voice sent you a note that you owe me money, and I'm with Cody on this.
I mean, I specifically said on the email, this is an invoice. I typed those words, and then I said...
That was nice of you.
Yeah, you owe me such and such for this date to this date, the last 3 quarters, blah, blah, blah. This will... I might have even said, this will serve as an official invoice. I might have said that to make it no doubt about it.
To make it official.
Yeah, and what he can do is he can copy and paste that and put it wherever it needs to be put.
Yeah, on a refrigerator. I'm sure that's how we're doing it these days. Copy and paste it and put it wherever it needs to be put.
Right. Thank you.
I will get to the football of the weekend in a moment. But, Jessica, you invoice the company and it's all computerized, right? You are not hurting the way that Cody is when he's sending an email and not getting his money on time.
What do you mean by computerized?
Yeah, clear that one up for me.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you log on JustWorks, and you send through expenses how it is that you arrive at getting reimbursed for stuff.
I think it's Ramp.
That one's a ramp.
Yeah, JustWorks is like our HR platform, and I'm a W-2 employee here, so I don't have to invoice Meadowlark, but Greg is not. I think he's probably 1099, so he would have to send an invoice probably to the accounting email address, which I almost just said out loud, but I decided to censor.
It's 1099 his age.
I'm working my way up to 1100. What do I have to do to get a promotion to 1100?
The year he was born.
He's old.
Age, humor.
Bad arm week.
Well, I mean, that's the truth. You don't want to see these limbs.
Can we see it?
Kind of do.
Can we see it? Do you mind explaining to us? Hold on. Let's go through this. Hold on. So in the Shadow Show, we were talking about Greg Cody looking nicer today, more dressed up because he's going to a Marlins game here. Marlins press conference in a little bit. What's the name of their new manager?
You could
Clay.
ask me forever. I would never know that.
Damn it.
Same.
Hang on just
Yeah.
a second.
I saw Skip went to the Rangers, right? Is that man? I
Clayton,
like that guy.
Clayton
Really?
McCullough.
Clayton. Yeah.
I haven't been this embarrassed since I missed up Diana Rossini's name.
In fairness, he hasn't been introduced yet, so.
Thank you.
Right.
So I haven't been introduced to him. Why would I know his name?
Yep.
Clayton McCullough.
When you
It's a good
Google
baseball
Marlins
name.
manager, it says Skip Schumacher still.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
Well, he
also
hasn't been
confusing.
introduced yet.
You
Yeah.
can't trust the internet.
Right.
Point.
Introduce yourself. I mean,
I will.
I'm talking about him.
I will not do any better on the state of the Marlins than the longtime legendary sports columnist on the way to the press conference for their manager introduction, when asked what's his name, looks through a bunch of papers and finally finds the name.
Yeah.
And it is correct to say, well, he hasn't been introduced
Right.
yet.
I got a lot on my mind.
You have done. This is not about where the manager resides in the culture of baseball, right? This is specifically about the Marlins. It's not just that everyone listening to this now understands that a manager's not going to come in and do much of anything for a team in the state of the Marlins.
Right.
But this is a reflection not of the industry and of Greg Cody's ignorance. It's that everyone knows, yeah, whatever, get a Rays guy to get a Dodger guy and see if you guys can figure it out while they lose for 10 years and see if they can get all the Astros draft picks. But it's not like that person's not, Billy, you know, you're the only one here who knows that person's name. Greg just said it and I just forgot it.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been introduced yet. He'll be introduced to him today.
It's true.
Time will tell.
I mean, let's be honest. The Marlins don't matter in their own market. They're the fifth team down here. You know, when Lionel Messi leaves, they might inch up to the fourth if they're lucky. They're a team that can't even guarantee a sellout on opening day. They don't matter right now. And therefore, the new manager, by extension, doesn't matter until he does. So, you know, that's the state of the Marlins. Now, that's on me a little bit. I had forgotten the name. Obviously, I
Right.
knew his name, but I wanted to give myself a reminder.
His name should be Dodgers guy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Billy, time will tell as an analysis on this.
Undefeated.
It works in general as a universal life truth, not particularly helpful in the sports discussion conversation. Time will tell is not the analysis that anyone gives on any hire. You have to have an opinion of some sort on what that hire is. We all had a lot of Aaron Rodgers opinions. Now he's got a lower winning percentage than Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold had with the Jets. We had a lot of opinions on Aaron Rodgers, and cataclysmic, like, never mind not meeting expectations, worse than anyone could have imagined, correct?
Yes, I would say so. Based on the expectations and the market.
I don't know, Jim. Two of us back here certainly imagined it. And tried to warn you.
Ooh, victory lap?
I think you guys should go do that. Go ahead and do that. Both
victory
of you,
lap?
yeah, victory lap
It's
on
early,
Aaron
man.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
Let's get both of you go to the room and get a victory lap
I'm in
going.
platform shoes.
And I'm going to platform you. I'm going to platform you.
Well, you're
to-
deplatforming her at the moment.
No, I'm putting her on a different platform where she can go after Aaron Rodgers, who she wants deplatformed.
Cardio is not really part of my routine right now.
Understood. I'd like to go to the both of you in the other room taking a victory lap.
Asking a lot.
Why not outside?
Yeah.
A lap around the block.
As we talk about the Dolphins today,
Back in the mix.
I tried to tell you all. In fact, I even had the score correct, I think, in my picks. I think I picked 31-17. I was right on the mark. I knew
Wow.
they would score points against this defense. Tua's been really good. He threw for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And his performance said to Antonio Pierce, "Hey, Coach Budinsky, this is why I'm still playing." You'll recall in September it was Antonio Pierce who unsolicited broke an unwritten rule by butting into another franchise's business
Yep.
and said, if I were to, I'd tell him to retire. It's not worth it. This is why he's playing to kick your ass, Antonio Pierce.
all right, Greg, you got the score wrong.
34-19.
That's not close enough for you.
It is close enough, but nobody would have known that you picked the score if you hadn't bragged that you got it exactly right. And when we looked it up, you didn't get it exactly right. You were wrong. And so, yes, but you're bringing it up just to point out that you got it exactly right. And yes, it is close enough, but the idea that you would need to tell us that you got it exactly right, as if that's a skill of yours.
It is
as
a
if,
skill.
As if you think you can do that.
Yeah,
You don't,
it's a
you don't
skill.
possess it.
It's a skill of mine because I pay attention to over-unders, which are usually pretty accurate. And I make
The over-under in that one was 43.5.
Okay, well, then I was even more right than I thought I was by predicting the over.
Bingo.
Yeah, double thank you.
Yeah.
Billy, what is happening here?
I don't know.
With Greg Cody. Greg, you think you have the skill to pick games correctly? You've picked every game for the last 20 years in the
Right.
newspaper.
Yeah.
Every time you pick it
And
correctly, you
online.
tell me, and it's about 4 times in the last 20 years.
You mean the exacto? I mean,
the
that's
Exactos.
that's
yes.
difficult
Right.
to
Yes.
get an exacto.
That's
Different
tricky.
thing.
Yeah, like if a game is 21-17 and I'll
Right.
pick 21-17,
Right.
I'm going to brag about it. But if I pick 20-16, I'm going to brag about that too. You're welcome.
We have some people around here who are doing well with their picks, although, Stugotz, you've been accused of something here, and I'd like Billy to be
I
able
don't
to
wanna
tell
hear
me
about it.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
There is an accusation that has been filed against you by a listener, and I believe the accusation, but I don't know if it's true or not, saying that Stu is stating his record on the year, which is really good, but he's adjusting the line on just about every bet, so it's more advantageous to him.
That's not true. First off, I buy half points. I buy hooks all the time. I tell the audience when I'm buying the hook and that you should buy the hook. Whether you do it or not is up to you. Now, I will say this. I record those picks usually on Thursday, and the games don't, they're not played until Sunday. So if the line changes, the line changes, but I have to get them done by Thursday. Those are the rules. And so right now, I'm just telling you.
You guys are all doing very well.
Yeah, I think I had another 4-2 week. In the NFL, I have 49, 29, and 2. That is a good year.
That's
Yes,
really
it is.
good.
Yeah.
And Greg Cody's record is very good, and Billy's record is very good as well. Correct, Billy? Because you care about this. Both of these guys are a little, they're degrees of flippant with these picks. I would say that Stu puts the least into them. I'm saying that Greg puts more into his picks than Stu does into his.
No doubt. With Billy's not a massive gambler. I like to gamble on all these games. Billy does not want to lose our audience money.
Yeah,
period.
I do feel a lot
Yes.
of pressure to get them
Yes.
right, which I shouldn't. I'm 29-14 on the year.
Okay.
That's real
but,
good.
But he takes it very seriously, same way that Juju does, because it hurts him to cost the audience Monday. He doesn't want the responsibility. He didn't ask for this? Any of
Correct.
this? He didn't want the responsibility.
Well, I created it for myself, so I kind of did, but I don't like the pressure that comes with it. Also, I will say this, because this is a thing that I get hit with because people get mad at me because they take my 3 picks and they turn it into a parlay. So I'll do 2 and 1, and they're like, "You idiot, you lost." And I'm like, I didn't. 2 and 1, that's a win. You guys, I didn't tell you to make it a parlay. These are individual bets. Now, if you make it a parlay, obviously it'll increase the odds there. You'll win a lot more money if all 3 hit. But I've been doing a good job of doing 2 and 1 almost every single. I think I have 1 losing week the entire season. So like 600 every single week. But like if you parlay it, you'd lose almost every single week.
I am laughing at the visual of Jessica and Mike in the other room getting ready to take a victory lap on Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, they're running backwards.
Hey, is this Central Park? I know what this place is. It's a place that hasn't seen a 300-yard passer since maybe COVID. It's kind of weird that the only MAGA-adjacent personality to catch an L this month has been Aaron Rodgers routinely. Damn shame he didn't make it to that rally at the UFC card on Saturday, but either way, we told you so! And it's going to be great when Rob Saleh lifts Lombardi.
How come
I
the
thought you
dog-
fixed it. Who would have known? Bringing in Devontae Adams and Rob Saleh didn't work.
You mean that didn't fix the entire Jets organization? That's crazy. You mean the quarterback that was already kind of old and falling off a cliff with his production didn't magically get better after tearing his Achilles after 4 plays last year? I'm running out of breath here.
What's so weird is this stuff always typically works out for the Jets.
Oh, the dog's not even running. That's
What
what's
is
even
Willow
weirder.
doing? Is Willow on skates?
We got a wild dog, Feral. Like Jack Nicholson. It's like Jack Nicholson and Wolf. Remember
so
how
amazing.
excited Greeny and Stugotz were after they
Oh,
traded
my
for
God.
Devontae Adams? The Bills are good in that division, huh? See you guys.
Okay, good seeing you, Mike. Do me the favor, Chris. I meant to tell you guys, but we were too busy farting around on the Shadow Show. Can you just get Stugotz's operatic song about the Jets from our musical? Because the Jets thing that happened yesterday, Stugotz.
Yep.
I only do this in the context of what was happening elsewhere in the league, in the place where the best teams are playing, in the game that mattered the most yesterday, where the Bills beat the Chiefs again.
Yep.
And the Chiefs' unbeaten season. But the way they do it, Stugotz, all of these close games, all of these games that Patrick Mahomes has been winning one-score games and at the end has the reputation now that used to be only Brady's, don't leave him any time. He's going to take everything from you. On 4th and 2 with the football, the Bills did the thing nobody does, and your Jets didn't do it yesterday, and it cost them the game.
Yep.
4th and 2 with the ball. No, our guy has the ball. You should be afraid to stop him. Our guy has the ball. I like our chances of ending your guy's ability to come right back down the field. A lot of coaches kick the field goal there. Sirianni doesn't. And in this case, they ran with Josh Allen. He runs 26 yards. He's going through your secondary like a centaur.
Crazy.
Like he's making five hugely athletic guys either miss or fall off him. And your Jets lost yesterday because on 4th and 2, they kicked the field goal, and then Anthony Richardson went all the way down the field. Do you realize that 4th and 2 play, if they don't get it, we would have been saying, here comes Mahomes. He's going to win the entire game.
If they kick the field goal, we're going to say, here comes Mahomes. He's going to score a touchdown. So Josh Allen is going down the field. You could see them processing the time, the clock, the timeouts. One of two things needs to happen. We need to score a touchdown so Mahomes can't go down the field and beat us because the math doesn't work out that way, or we have to kill the clock. And so that was a gutsy call. Josh Allen made a great play. He won the MVP on that play, and it was a great game. It lived up to the hype. It was a crazy game.
Did he win the MVP? Lamar Jackson yesterday lost exactly the way that people are expecting him to lose in the playoffs. I don't know if you saw this. I've got to look up this because Derrick Henry, seeing him fumble was confusing to me yesterday because I'm so used to not only is that guy never hit hard by anybody, he does all the hitting. I think it was like a 538 touches. It might have been 580-something touches since he had a fumble. And at the end of that game, they just come out and take the football from him. So maybe Lamar Jackson lost the MVP yesterday. But I want to talk about how many coaches in that sport do what the Bills did with Josh Allen. I remember, you guys remember years ago, Bill Belichick on 4th and short, when no one was going for it on 4th and short, had Tom Brady against Peyton Manning, and he went for it and he failed, and everyone crushed Bill Belichick for making the call.
Yep.
Now everybody goes for it on 4th down in their own territory. Tomlin did it a couple times again yesterday. Like, nobody's afraid of 4th down. Dan Campbell doesn't care about 4th and 5. But how many coaches in the spot where you're going to get blamed for the decision in that league do what they did in that spot, 4th and 2? No, Mahomes, I believe in my guy's ability to keep you off the field for the rest of the game. You're not going to do that here to us. I believe in my guy, and then my guy doesn't even bother to throw the ball because if you don't trust him there, that's fine. He runs all 26 yards because he's galloping through your secondary like a stallion, like a Clydesdale.
He's the size of a linebacker. And when he's running, he's actually difficult to stop, unlike most quarterbacks. I don't think Stugotz is wrong when he says, if you're looking at one play that turns the MVP race,
yes,
it might well have been that one. And it makes you miss having a running quarterback. If you're a Dolphins fan and the crowd gasps every time it looks like Tua might run, it really makes you miss that. If I'm a defensive coordinator, the first thing I'm wondering about the other team is, can that quarterback beat me running on 3rd and 8? And man, the Bills are that.
That was Derrick Henry's first fumble since 2022.
I think it's his first fumble loss because he fumbled the ball a couple of weeks ago, but he didn't lose the fumble.
That's crazy.
But, Dan, you ask how many teams go for it in that spot. There are not many teams that have that quarterback, and that's a big difference. Like, confidence in that quarterback is easy to have.
I think that spot and people going for it, it's more and more routine. What isn't routine is what Buffalo does with 4th and 2, which is everybody on the opposing sideline, everyone watching at the bar, every Bills fan there at Ralph Wilson knows what this play is going to be. It's never leaving Josh Allen's hands. We're not calling a play. We're calling a player.
The Ravens have been doing that for several seasons.
Yeah, and they tried it again, and they ran to his offside, which was a little weird, but it's the same exact
supposed
thought.
To be a pass
Even
play,
on the opposite side of the sideline, they thought about it with Justin Fields. Justin Fields just slid early, but there are just certain guys in a super athletic league that just break the mold there, that are just so much more athletic. And Josh Allen's not just athletic, but big and strong. It's just such a huge weapon.
Also, in the Steelers game, that 2-point conversion, Tomlin called a timeout, so the Ravens had to they were in formation, the Steelers saw what they were going to run on that play, which was probably going to be Lamar Jackson running power into the end zone. But they called the timeout. The Ravens had to get a backup play in there, and that play, it looked like the wide receivers were confused where they were supposed to be running on that play, and the whole thing completely blew up, and the Steelers defense stopped them. So that was a really timely timeout from Tomlin, because if the Ravens tie it there, you're like, why are you wasting a timeout, dude? Like, you got the ball back, and now you're down a timeout, but it completely worked out for him, and it was a really smart choice.
I want to get to that game in a second, because the delight in that game was, they're just going to fight all game.
Yes.
These two teams are just going to physically fight all game, because Jay Glazer says that the only thing that approaches the Steeler culture of violence is the Ravens culture of violence. And so they're going to fight, and there's going to be a hatchet in there somewhere.
That's the AFC North, Dan. That's football.
I know, but you guys been telling me that Cincinnati can just slow start their way every season, and they've got an ability to fix all of that. And I'm like,
I'm off that.
Yeah.
No.
Now you're off it?
They're kickers.
Yeah.
I mean, what? McPherson has cost them so much this season, and they make a Super Bowl because of his greatness a couple of years ago.
So I want to analyze this part with Cody and with Billy as Dolphin fans, because I do not want to poo-poo yesterday's victory.
No.
No. I just want to ask you, since you got in with Derrick Henry fumbled recently, but they did not lose it, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Tua, I believe, and this happened again yesterday, has fumbled something like 24 times the last couple of seasons, and they've only lost a third of them. So they don't show up. Josh Allen was reckless. When we were doing quarterback analysis at the top of this division, the thing that made Tua somebody who can knock off Josh Allen wasn't that he's better than Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen's a turnover machine. He's reckless with the football. He's going to have 5 turnover games that get Flacco benched all of a sudden.
To lend to Dan's point, Tua has fumbled the ball 11 times this year.
No, but I want the last 2 years, because what
17.
I want to. I think it's more than. I think it's a lot of fumbles, and he's only lost a third of them. And the reason that I bring it up is I ask you this: if it's lucky that he's only lost a third of them, if he'd lost 22 of 23, would the evaluation of Tua be totally different than it actually is, because fumbles count as much as interceptions, and there's a certain randomness to the fact that fumbles get recovered by your own team? He's got an alarming fumble problem.
He does. He has 8 lost fumbles for his career.
But
it's an interesting question you're asking here. Would we view Tua differently if more of those were recovered by the other team?
Of course we would.
And we probably would.
It's also a question of like snaps. Like if they snap a ball over his head, is that a fumble on Tua? Like if they're bad snaps, are they fumbles that they're holding against him? Because we also are we're 5 minutes away from celebrating Derrick Henry never technically fumbling the ball, even though he's fumbled it 3 times. He's only lost 1.
This is one of those things that I deeply want Pro Football Focus to make easy to digest for the audience, because all those fumbles, especially at the quarterback position, need to be contextualized. I literally, because in college, this was the book on Cam Ward, that he averages like a fumble a game at Washington State. He does have smaller hands, and then you literally watch every single one of those fumbles, and you realize he has such bad pass protection. It's often a snap issue because he's trying to get a read and cheat on the defense to the very last second to get a read. So there's a lot of that, and I just wish it was all contextualized for the audience, because there's no way you can take inventory of this yourself.
I think yesterday's Dolphin game was a weird one, and we talked about it a little bit on God Bless Football, in that like the Dolphins' offense that you're used to is like quick strikes and attacks and scoring. And yesterday they were really eating up a lot of clock. They had like 8-9-minute drives. They didn't punt the ball once yesterday. They scored every single time they had the ball, with the exception, I think, of the end of the first half and the end of the second half. So, like, they scored every single time they had the ball. It was just a different way of doing it. They were doing small passes here. Jonnu had a career day with 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Tyreek is finding, like, a new... It's not what you're used to Tyreek doing, where he goes and he hits, like, an 80-yard touchdown. He's running around in the middle, and they're using him a lot. On third down, you know it's either going to go to Jonnu or it's going to go to Tyreek. Like 3rd and 3, it's going to go to Tyreek. He's going to choose 7 yards, and he's just going to keep the thing moving. So, like, I don't know, I guess, why the takeaway that you have from yesterday is that Tua fumbles the ball a lot, because yesterday was a good Dolphin game, I think.
It was.
One of the great moments from yesterday was during that defensive breakdown of the Raiders where Jonnu Smith is wide open. Tyreek Hill is on the opposing sideline, and he's just, as the play is going on, just got his arms crossed at Antonio Pierce asking, how does that happen? Just a 6-second long troll job as this play is unfolding.
I talked about this on my own podcast that dropped this morning, and Billy's 100% right in terms
of... The Greg Cody Show, featuring Greg Cody.
Yeah, thank
Fine.
you.
Yeah.
It was entirely the antithesis of the way they won last year, which was the quick strike, the big play. All last season, the entire year, they had 3 series of at least 14 plays. Yesterday, they had 3 series of 14 plays in the first 3 possessions.
Raiders.
It was just, well, not just Raiders. It was an entirely different mindset for them. Tyreek Hill had 7 catches for 61 yards. That's the new pretty good game for Tyreek Hill.
All right, so you guys have seen what's happened. We've all been watching the same sport. The Kansas City Chiefs, when they had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and had a cheap quarterback with value at quarterback, they'll get you deep. They'll get you short. We'll watch a couple of seasons of Mahomes. Oh, Mahomes, they're not going to keep letting you do it 80 yards one play. You're going to have to move it in until it's what it is now, which is totally constipated. Like Chiefs on 3rd and 5, maybe he'll run for 6 yards. Or he's going to throw it at Kelsey's knee, and it's all move it in because we can't get behind you. Of course that's going to happen to everybody. It'll happen to the Dolphins too. You're using up the Hill years. You've got an athlete who's more of an athlete in an athletic time in the sport than all of them, and on 3rd and 3, you can't cover him. So you're going to make him get 5 5-yard catches? Yeah, that's the way that it's going to happen on this time, and they're not going to punt. But the reason I brought up the fumble thing, though, is because we're talking about Justin Tucker and the margins for victory in that sport. Where we all know the Ravens are good. They've been one of the best for the last 5 years. We all know that quarterback's good. We question whether that game's going to happen to him in the playoffs. It doesn't even matter what happens the rest of their season. We're just waiting around for, is that game going to happen to him in the playoffs?
It will.
But
It
now,
always does.
But now Justin
does.
Tucker, and it may, but now it might be because Justin Tucker screwed it up because they wasted the Justin Tucker years. They didn't win anything in the Justin Tucker
The
years.
rare wasting of a kicker's best years.
When it comes to Lamar Jackson, unbelievable talent, multiple-time MVP winner, but people have those questions, and they're fair. He needs to do it in the playoffs, but it's not just the playoffs. Nick Wright points out, as long as he's not playing the Chiefs, the dynasty of his era, the Steelers, his team's hated rival, or in the playoffs, Lamar is as good as any quarterback ever. Unfortunately, in those spots, he's got a 4-12 record, a 75 quarterback rating, more turnovers than touchdowns. He's simply bad against those teams.
And the Steelers have won 8 of 9 against the MVP of the league. So I want to talk about that game in a second. But when I'm mentioning the Tua thing, the only reason I'm bringing it up, Billy, is because I'm wondering if we're doing some randomness. The rest of this season with the Dolphins is going to have very little margin for error. They kind of got to win all the games or lose 1 or 2 here.
Yes.
And if 1 or 2 of those gets lost, like yesterday when it's still close because of a fumble that gets lost, what I'm asking you, if the margins are so small in that sport, because you just handed me a piece of paper that says that Tua has 33 fumbles in his career, 8 have been lost. I don't know if this is accurate. He's got 24 fumbles in the last 36 games, and I'm simply asking you because of the number of times. I don't see it talked about at all. And you're right, Billy. It's not the thing to talk about today. It's the negative in a time that would be more positive because they got a 2-game winning streak and their quarterback looks right and their offense looks right enough.
And they have the Patriots coming in this weekend.
Right.
But I am simply asking the question because it seems like you would grant me that if he had lost all 33 of the fumbles, that too would be unlucky, but neither one of them is like, we can agree that he's been lucky with fumbles and they've been lucky with fumbles, correct?
Fumble luck is something that is calculated, and for teams that have like a negative percentage of fumble recoveries, it's expected that will go back toward closer to 50% the following season because, like, yeah, the ball's shaped stupid and it bounces weird.
Random. Totally random. The fumble discussion is different with quarterbacks, and it's especially different with Tua. I'm not excusing his proneness to fumbling, but I am saying with that concussion problem, when Max Crosby's about to tackle him in the pocket, his priority is protect my head, and maybe protecting the ball comes second. Maybe you should do both at the same time, but if you have to pick, maybe you protect your head first.
Have you guys thought of this? I've thought of two of the scariest places in football to be. One of them is after I fumble. That seems, after I fumbled, seemed whatever's coming next seems like a kind of panic that I'm not going to have anywhere else in my life.
Is the other one Provo after midnight?
It is not.
It wasn't so hard for Kansas.
No, but strange thing. You got to get them after midnight.
No, strange things happen.
Yeah,
in
strange
Provo.
things happen after midnight. Yes.
That's the distinction you're making.
I thought you were going to say Jacksonville.
we will,
That's the scariest place in the NFL.
we will get to college football in a second. The second scariest place to me, I just think, I don't know, well, there are three of them actually. Catching a punt seems like it would be horrifying if you're not fair catching. But the bottom of a fumble pile seems really awful. Like if I'm Tua and I'm fumbling that much, I don't want him at the bottom of what's ever happening down there. It's like it feels to me like putting a baby from a crib in
Right.
I don't like.
There's no need for
I
it.
don't like the way that I am viewing Tua games.
Oh, there was a play yesterday. The play where he threw the 8-yard TD pass to Tyreek Hill, where he rolls out to his left.
I was terrified.
There was a split second when the crowd thought he might run.
Yes.
There was a gasp from the
Yes.
crowd.
He
A
thought he
gasp.
might run.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just amazing how there's an exhale of relief when the ball leaves his hands.
What was the baby in the crib?
Yeah,
thing
where's the
again?
baby
We're
going?
trying to follow.
Into the fumble pile?
I view in the middle of a fumble pile, I've got a baby.
Right. Two is the baby.
Yes, a
Where's
baby
the
with
baby
a
to the
thank
ball?
you.
Wait, I thought the
Tua.
baby was a ball.
Bua.
Okay.
Dan's baby.
Walk me through this.
Okay, in the middle of the fumble pile. If you guys are in agreement with me that these are the three worst feelings to feel in football,
For a baby?
We
or-
haven't heard them yet.
For the baby especially.
Yes.
Babies don't understand. Babies are actually surprisingly not scared of a lot of things,
Yeah.
but then scared of the dumbest things.
Yeah, well, babies are dumb. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah, they're
Right.
stupid. Are you fumbling the baby while wearing the suede jacket? Because I would think that you're less concerned about protecting the baby than wondering about the jacket being ripped or something like that. It's brand new.
Or stained.
Yeah, or stained, or
Yeah.
grass stains.
Grass stains are hard to get out.
Did they come
right.
out of suede?
Where is the jacket from? I'd like to Google its approximate value.
Does turf stain like grass?
It's Tua the baby.
at Le Batard Show, put it on the poll, please. I've lost my train of thought because I'm being attacked.
You're holding a
That
baby.
You were
was my
taking a
intention.
baby,
Fumble
putting a
piles.
baby into a compromising position.
The reason why I'm asking
For no
is
reason.
it made
I
it seem
know
that
what
you're
I-
just throwing babies in cribs, and that's historically not how you do it.
Cruelty to babies.
Put it on the poll
Lock
at Le
'em in.
Batard Show.
And cribs.
Are
It's a big baby.
babies stupid at Le Batard Show?
They are. I mean, no fault of their own.
Right. Yeah.
What I was saying, it's always great when all of you rise up on attack. That's always a lot of fun.
Right. The baby, though.
Yeah, I'm getting there, Stugotz. I know. I'm getting there. You've already pushed me into this
Sorry.
corner. I'm
I
already
did it.
here.
I'm
I'm
trying to
here
help
with
you.
you guys. No,
Don't put baby in a corner.
Does the baby wear a helmet at least?
the fumble pile is a terrible place to be. Returning a punt is a terrible place to be. The moment of panic after you fumbled, especially on a punt return, when all of those torpedoes are coming down the field to spike you. Horrifying.
Yes, because your reaction is to get what it is you dropped.
That's correct.
Of
but
course.
everyone else's reaction, too, is the problem. And
dropped it.
You don't know where they're coming from. It seems like a place where limbs and things can be fractured. It seems. Because you realize the football is at the middle of what feels like a piranha pit, right? Like everyone is coming at 100 miles an hour, all of them strong and heavy, and you're panicked because everyone in the stadium in America and internationally knows this is your fault. So that moment seems like it's truly horrifying. Tua, in the middle of it, if he's got to recover 33 fumbles in his career, would feel to me like a baby in a crib in the middle of the fumble pile. Something bad is going to happen to the baby. The baby cannot defend itself.
So the baby's in the crib in the middle of all this surrounding mayhem?
In the crib. Yeah.
As he would look in the crib.
Ah, okay.
Weird analogy, Dick Tracy.
Took a long time to get there.
Well, you
Yeah,
guys got stuck on the baby portion.
Well,
of
we
it.
actually got stuck
We didn't
Googling your
understand it.
jacket.
Yeah, we found it with
I got stuck on people are coming at 1,000 miles an hour.
pricey.
Torpedoes.
What's the third thing? It's the fumble pile, it's the fair catch, and it's the what?
It's just the
Jacksonville.
moment that you have fumbled.
Provo.
The very moment that you have fumbled. It seems like a terrifying place to live, Does it not?
Yes, it does.
I believe we underestimate this stuff because of the comfort of our living rooms. I believe that you guys don't spend a lot of time thinking about these horrors.
Well, you're saying living as a person who drops things on the regular that are valuable. Yes, that is an awful place to live. I am totally with you. I never thought about it that way.
But it's not just that. It's not that you're dropping something that's valuable. It's in that moment as you've dropped it, everyone who's watching, and there are many millions of people watching, no, you suck at your job. This is your fault. Everything that's happening on the field is like, it's rarely that obvious. It's one person and it's their fault. Somebody gets blindsided, hit from the side. You've just dropped the football. You've dropped the punt. And now what's coming at you is 9 people, 10 people. The long snapper's in there too. The only one who's not coming is the punter. It seems awful. Does it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to argue that it's not awful to fumble?
Right.
Is there a promo code on this jacket?
Get it on sale or something? Good God, man.
Woo! I don't know how you guys know where this is from.
The internet.
The internet knows everything. I do that with bottles of wine.
Yeah.
If somebody
Really?
gives me a bottle of wine, the first
Yeah.
thing I do is look up the
Really?
price. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and then judge the giver. Yeah,
What do
have
you
to.
what do you judge as like this was a nice bottle, like $40 plus, or are you more expensive than
It
that?
depends on the occasion.
Or who's giving, right?
If it's a special occasion, that wants to be a 3-figure wine.
What?
That wants to be a Camus or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special
but
occasion.
If
Like
it's not,
$60 is fine.
if it's not a special occasion, it can be 40 or 60.
It depends who the gift giver is, too. Like, what if someone who
True.
doesn't,
Yeah. No, you're right.
Well, it's not someone that spends this much money on a jacket. Like if Dan's spending this on a jacket, then the bottle of wine must resemble that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But he's not buying the jacket either. He married well, that guy.
It's a 5th anniversary gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift for a 5th anniversary. What are you supposed to buy someone like me on a gift for a 5th anniversary?
Gift certificate to Home Depot.
Yeah. Oh, I love a
Would.
gift certificate to Home
dude.
Yeah, I do
Depot.
too.
I miss certificates.
I do too.
let you choose.
Oh, I love
the
them.
paper.
The paper
Not the
certificate.
plastic.
Oh,
Yes.
my
thank
God.
you.
Buy what you want.
That's really when things took a downturn.
They
Put
did.
it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you miss certificates? I don't know how many people like this you guys have met in your life in this business. A personality type that is particular, that no matter where it is that they are, on the text string, on the phone, on their show, they're doing show. They're always on, and they want their opinions heard everywhere. Nick Wright has texted me because he wants everyone to hear this opinion of his. How many people like this have you met in this industry? Sid Rosenberg was somebody like that, may still be someone like that. Just need their opinions heard everywhere. Nick Wright says, enjoy the semi-annual, actually this quarterback is better than Patrick Mahomes media day. Typically, Lamar's is in November and Josh's is in October, but it flipped this year. Adds exciting intrigue before he beats them both in January.
What's Sid up to?
No idea.
Do you know many media types like this?
Too many.
Most.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exception is what's enjoyable, and I try to be the exception. I'm not giving sports opinions. I'm not texting people in the middle of a Monday Night Football game. I'm just not. Good for me.
Well, you showed everybody.
I did.
Yes, I don't know what. Okay, so you're not texting during games. You're busy writing emails and saying their invoices.
Right.
Yeah.
That's business.
He's just like awkwardly pacing the house. That's what he does when he watches football games.
Taking care of business.
I came in today, and
TCB.
this is what it is that Solomon Wilcox had to say. That's COTS.
He's still at it, huh?
He's still at it.
Solly?
I told you, it's coffee with a side of football in the morning. He said yesterday, listen to me, this is important because
Okay.
I don't think you guys know it. You knew it when you were watching, possibly. It came off of the screen on you. But Jessica, Wilcott said that Ravens Steelers, 2 chin strap game.
Oh, wow. Not one, but two.
2 chin strap game. Now, at one point I saw Zay Flowers was hit in the mouthpiece that he wears outside of his mouth. I think it seemed like he was wearing 2 of them outside of his mouth. He got hit by a laser beam by Lamar Jackson that he dropped on third down. That
Right
hit
in
him
the face, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a 2 chin strap game. That game was more violent than the other football games.
Did you see the interception that Peyton Wilson had, the linebacker? Wow. That play was insane.
Not really sure it was an
It
interception,
was just
but still
it was
impressive.
like a pure
Right.
takeaway.
How bad was that throw by Russell Wilson, by the way?
The interception.
The interception in the end zone.
Unlimited.
Darnell Washington needs to jump or stick an arm up there because he was like sort of in the area and then was like, it's over my head.
But this happens
It was
in that
bad.
this happens in that sport so often, where the job is just throw it over there and AJ Brown will out AJ Brown whoever's over there. Like they're not actually open; they're just in front of somebody. And when Russell Wilson threw that ball, his receiver was in front of him, and then he wasn't anymore. One of the things that's happening in that sport more and more is everyone's open. Even when they're not, everyone's open because if they're that athletic and they turn around and you're throwing to just a spot before anyone, you're just saying, I see one-on-one coverage over there and my wide receiver is more athletic than your cornerback. So I'm just going to see if I throw it in the vicinity of one of his shoulders. Russell Wilson has thrown so many 50-50 balls in the last 3 games.
It is a skill, though. Ball winning is a skill, and it's not always athleticism, even though Amari Cooper is super athletic, especially compared to the normal person at this part of his career, at this age. He's not really going to out-athletic guys, but he's like Anquan Bolden. Anquan Bolden hung around for several years after you would think that he wouldn't, and he wasn't burning past people. He wasn't beating people off of routes. It was just throw up that ball. It's not a 50-50 with me. It's a 75-25.
That's all DeAndre Hopkins is giving you at this point, correct?
Correct.
Pretty much,
That's
yeah.
been the case for a couple of years with him.
And the one-arm catch, if you can do that. I'd be curious what the analytics are on the fade pass to the corner of the end zone. I personally hate that play. It seems like there's so many ways for it not to be complete. It must be successful.
Wait a minute.
No, historically, analytics people hate the end zone fade.
I can't
Thank you.
stand it.
Good.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but there are a couple of guys, like you throw an end zone fade to DK Metcalf, the math changes a little bit. So.
Right, but the field is working against you. You're throwing literally to a little corner. It's just it's a terrible play, in my opinion.
I understand why you don't like it, why other people don't like it, and why analytics don't like it. But, man, in goal line situations, when the choice a quarterback and a coach can make is, It's one-on-one over there, and I'm going to trust my guy to be bigger, stronger, and faster than your guy because we pay the wide receivers better than we pay the cornerbacks. And a disaster's not going to happen. I'm unlikely to get an interception in that spot. I'm going to take one shot that feels like better than 50-50 to me because I've got my athlete being more of an athlete than your athlete. Like, I feel like that math is being done all over the field in hunting mismatches.
No one has more data than these head coaches. I'm sure there's a way to quantify the success rate if I throw it one-on-one to Steve Smith. But that to my original point of calling players, I'll be playing the probabilities that my guy, my DK Metcalf, my Steve Smith, my Cooper Kupp is going to be better than your guy trying to stop him in this moment.
You know why Russell Wilson threw that interception in the red zone?
Why?
Because he could hear everyone today saying the Steelers won that game without scoring a touchdown, and he was desperate to not get 3 out of that drive. Well, they didn't because he turned it over. But I could hear the desperation coming out of him that we need to score a touchdown in this game or else people like Mike Schur are going to be online complaining about this isn't real football. You can't get 18 points the hard way. It doesn't count. Guess what? It counts.
Tomlin is 2-0 in games in which his team hasn't scored a touchdown this year.
Yeah, he's got 6 field goals in that game. There are a couple
He
of
loves
things
that.
We've talked a lot. And what we haven't talked about is so nobody gets to score 52 in a game. But Detroit has done it twice now this season.
Yeah.
It's not like all the other things. Detroit's not like all of the other things. We can sit here and argue about whether KC was real, all the one-score games. You can believe what you want about the Steelers and the Vikings. You're welcome to believe whatever you want about the Ravens as well. But that team doesn't look like all the rest of the teams.
They look better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They look overwhelming.
I mean, and you can look that way against Mac Jones and against Jacksonville. That team is fundamentally broken. Their coach, I'm assuming.
But that's the way you beat that team. If you're a great team, Dan, a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, that's the way you beat Jacksonville.
I don't think I'd seen a 14-point spread this season. Jacksonville is terrible with Mac Jones. They've gone under.
They're terrible with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but they're not. Look,
Right.
man, 52-6 isn't happening very much in that league.
Right. That was the highest point spread by a half a point. And part of it is the other team not having their starting quarterback. Most of it is Detroit's offense. They are awesome. Awesome. And I don't know if the betting odds say it right now as the most probable matchup, but I am so looking forward to Lions and Bills in the Super Bowl. One team never won a Super Bowl, once lost 4 in a row. The other franchise hasn't won an NFL title since 1957. That's going to be an ideal Super Bowl matchup.
If we get to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Big if.
But is there a better likely matchup right now than that? I don't think so.
I'm going to look it up, but I think probably the worst odds that you would get on a Super Bowl matchup would be Lions-Chiefs, even with last night's result.
I'd be curious. Look that up.
I think that what has they'll be on it. They will. You don't have to tell them. That's
friendly advice.
Let in with that. I'm just
reminding them.
Yeah. I'm curious. I don't know how this went over with everyone in the crew. I don't know if you guys were having glitching problems with your red zone yesterday because a lot of people were making the glitching hour jokes. You don't want your witching hour distorted by buffering or by seizing. The things that I have found interesting about the revolution, Stugotz, of how it is that customers consume sports content. The streamers getting in the game for sports and live sports changes everything, and I am legitimately surprised that there is not more glitchiness in the transition because I didn't think that Amazon would just be able to up and get a football game up with all of those cameras and everything you need to happen so that nobody notices that you're doing it for the first time. Like, there's got to be some tripping around, some stumbling around. I thought of it when Evander Holyfield's earpiece went out on live television. Their Netflix is doing 4.5 hours of programming just trying to keep the audience until the midnight fight. They get a record 60 million people. Netflix never gives out the numbers like this, whether you believe it or not. I don't know if they're blaming that for the glitchiness or whatnot, but at 4.5 hours of live coverage, there are a lot of things can go wrong. And I'm surprised that these things don't have a lot more mistakes because we're in the middle of the transition. And these are These are hundreds of millions of dollars that it costs to put on some of these productions. Like they're basically staging these giant events on live television that feel like we're debuting a movie tonight because we're changing the way all of you watch this stuff. Like, it's not about going to a theater for a movie. Now you're going to stay home on Friday night, and Netflix wants your Friday night for the circus tent, for the nonsense, for just something that was unfathomably stupid so that boxing could show its ass, Mike Tyson could show its ass, and all of us, the customer, can again show our ass on boxing. We'll always steal our money with stupidity, and then part of the fun is spending 2 days complaining about it afterward, because damn it wasn't what I thought I was buying.
Wasn't it exactly what we thought it was going to be?
It went exactly how we all thought.
A little late, though. I mean,
It was pretty drawn out.
late, yes.
But, I mean, that's boxing cards, but you would have thought maybe since this is in Dallas and not in Vegas, we'd still do Eastern Standard on here.
Right.
Great women's fight, though.
Yeah.
Incredible women's
I
fight.
felt bad for Tyson. Anyone else? I mean,
I think everybody else.
really?
Yes, I think everyone had
don't-
the same feeling.
People wanted Tyson to win.
I feel like old people need to just take the L here. You said for months leading up that you guys thought he had a chance, and it was pretty clear pretty quick that he didn't.
Chris, we also got some clarity on why this fight was delayed. There was this weird, ambiguous health issue that Mike Tyson was dealing with, and he later revealed that he essentially won that fight because of what he overcame. He had blood transfusions, lost a lot of blood, apparently, had a very serious issue, still kind of trying to figure out what happened there.
It is the dirtiest sport. It is the most awful of the things that we make money off of in sports. And this is the worst permutation of it, which is what's famous, put it in a ring. It doesn't have to be good boxing. Boxing shows its ass here when this thing is the circus event that it was, and everyone tuned in a way they would not for any other fight like this. But I will tell you, Chris Cody, early on as I'm watching, and Mike Tyson doesn't throw a single uppercut. Jake Paul is wise to let an old man's legs get old by simply avoiding him early. And there he just gets tired because it is an impossible emotional fatigue and drain to go up into that fight to fight again over your fears and everything. A lot of legs are giving, no matter what your stamina level is, because the fear grabs your legs. And the fact that Jake Paul knew enough to stay away from him early, and the fact that I never saw an uppercut from Mike Tyson, never saw one throughout the fight because he wasn't close enough to do it, you knew early on that there wasn't going to be anything in his legs if Jake Paul could just keep him away for a couple of rounds.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't watch any of this. I was watching college football Friday night, and also it was like way too late. But I do need to just ask, why did we see Mike Tyson's ass?
Yeah, they did that.
Why did that happen?
I think it is a locker room interview setting, and I don't think that they were prepared for him turning around and wearing.
Oh, really? I thought that was totally manufactured.
No, it was his son doing the in locker room interview. They have a nice moment. They exchange a kiss on the cheek, and Mike just walks away from the interview, and we just see his ass.
Yeah, but the camera lingered, and I think even the camera kind of focused on it a little bit. The camera goes down. From my record, I watched it. I'm like, this is purely manufactured to get people talking about it on the internet. Look, you see the camera direction. The camera was anticipating that.
But then it
happening.
zoomed in to get the ass out of the shot.
If you're a cameraman, you just got to do your job there. If he's going to turn around and show you that, you got to pan out a little.
I thought it was
what you do.
100% manufactured. They were trying to make a moment and do exactly what it did. For those people that weren't watching, have something on the internet that reminds you this event's happening.
I have a feeling if Christopher, under any circumstance, is interviewing me, and I'm, bottomless, he's going to say, "Dad, put on some pants."
Right.
Is it that inconvenient to put on some pants?
You're going to ask Mike Tyson in that spot to put on some pants?
The son, "Hey, Dad, please, just, a pair of pants." But I didn't feel cheated. Look, it was a totally lopsided fight. They had to have a split decision to create any impetus for a rematch, and it was not even close to a split decision.
It's not going to be a rematch.
Like I just said, if you were listening. A split decision, and there would have been impetus for a rematch. When you have a unanimous decision, there's nothing. It just dies. But the reason I didn't feel cheated is that anybody who had Netflix was watching it for free. It's not like I paid $70 for pay-per-view.
Okay, you might not have felt cheated. I'm thinking that most people felt cheated by that. I don't think the event ends up meeting the expectations of whatever it is people thought they were going to get for 4.5 hours of live programming. It's very difficult, but the test, what they pulled off successfully is, because this part's just crazy to me. It really is. We're headed toward a duopoly in Hollywood. Like, it just sort of seems like you've got Amazon and Netflix fighting to become whatever the future of television is, with all of the money in the world to throw at the investment. How do I get 60 million people around their television the way that it only happened when we had 3 networks and it was like the season finale of MASH or Cheers or Friends or whatever it is that...
or Dallas.
Well, it wouldn't be Friends because that was after 3 networks. But there used to be a time. Look up for me, please. What gets a number of 60 million? You may not believe the number from Netflix. You're welcome to question all of the ratings in the modern age. I don't know what's accurate anymore either. But Netflix is saying that this is an unprecedented, record-breaking success. They're just now getting into live sports. They're just now beginning to change what this entire model is. And if they can throw up some freak fest that is just internet popular, that cuts across 40 years of... But my wife asked me, she wanted to watch this. She never does this with anything in sports. Nothing at all. She just wanted to see what the hell was going on, what the spectacle, why everybody was talking about this, and if the old man could do anything in this circumstance. Could he... there are so many old people, because Chris is right. He's making fun of the mythology of Tyson that we are forever talking about. But even Jake Paul wasn't going to get close to that for the first round. Like, he wasn't going to go in there and take the risk of one punch from this man as an uppercut, even at 58, would be enough to slay him. He knew this. He's smart. He continues to keep his business alive. But Netflix had a buffering problem because of the number of people. That's a good problem to have when you're just starting in this part of the business.
I was at a place where the signal held steady the entire time, but it was overwhelming on social media and in my group chats. Everybody was having issues with the buffering for this live event. So I'm not really sure why some people had consistent streams and some others didn't.
This is something that's plagued Netflix, though, with like their live events, because there was a Love is Blind finale like 2 years ago that they just couldn't get on the air. It was supposed to be a live reunion, and it was delayed like hours and hours because they just couldn't get it live. So like, I don't want a Monday morning quarterback it, but I was thinking like, it's probably going to be an issue here if there's going to be this many people watching and they couldn't get Love is Blind on live.
And Bill, you know what's happening on Christmas.
What?
Chiefs Steelers
Yeah.
on Netflix.
I thought it was Beyonce.
They
And
were
Beyonce.
She's a halftime performer for that.
they were able to fix it in their defense.
They did.
Like, all of a sudden, the Paul fight was about to start, and it was fixed.
They
Yeah,
will.
no,
They-
it was good.
They have unlimited resources. They're going to figure this out. They're going to get more people familiar with live sports broadcasts, and I mean, the stakes go up for them because they've been doing these things sporadically, live activations. Beginning in January, they get Monday Night Raw live every week on their platform. They're going to have to get good at it quick.
I also don't really get giving them a pass of like, this is their first try. They don't know how to do it. Like, they just buy everybody else that's done it for other networks before, right? Like, it's not like I'm trying to put on a boxing match and figuring it out live.
I think they're outsourcing that.
yeah, like
production.
they have people doing
And
it that
also-
do this professionally.
I don't think they do have
Cedric
unlimited
the Entertainer?
resources. They're a company that's not going to just spend a unneeded amount of money on something.
Yeah, I meant it like comparably. But I think that they were doing a lot of unconventional things, be it the manufactured moment with Mike Tyson's ass, which I think was 100% intentional.
So you think that was
Rosie
100%?
Yes.
Just they were like, let's plan a bit with his ass.
I don't agree with him on that.
You know the worst part about it for me? So, like, I tuned in for, like, not even 2 minutes. So I tuned in probably around 9, and I saw, like, all the, like, fake graphics that are there. Like, oh, how is this giant person floating in the air? Like, this is weird, right? So, like, I tuned into that, and then I see they're like, tonight we have, and it's, like, all of these fights that come up, and I go, I don't care about boxing. Like, I'm not going to watch 4 hours of this to see one fight. I don't care about any of these fights. I don't really even care about the main event. Like, to sit around for 4 hours to watch Mike Tyson hopefully survive. Like, this is crazy. Also, like, side note, how crazy is it that on a regular basis at the Cowboys Stadium, they put up curtains for things that are not the football game. But poor Dak Prescott is blinded every single week. But for concerts, they put them up. They have them. They just refuse to put them up for the football game, and it's impacting their actual team.
the last Super Bowl drew 123 million viewers. For a cartoon freak show boxing match to draw half of that total was astounding.
But to answer Dan's question, Seinfeld did 76.3 million. The final episode of Seinfeld did that. Cheers, the final episode, one for the road. Great name, by the way, for Cheers. Did 80.5 million. Dallas, JR, Who Shot JR, did 83.6 million, and MASH did 106 million.
Now think about what we're talking about here when he uses those numbers and the quality of years that go into relationship building with an audience over raising your children for years and watching television, letting this into your home. The idea that this freak fest, this nonsense, a total contrivance. I think the whole thing was a contrivance except for the Mike Tyson ass part of it. I think the whole rest
They
of it.
lucked into an ass.
We lucked into an ass.
The women's fight, and that's where I'm down with what Jake Paul's trying to do, because his promotions really do try to get good fights on the card. And from a boxing card, I was really happy with the fights that were displayed that weren't the main event. It was just really drawn out. And I know that's usually the deal with these big boxing cards, but maybe it was because I was watching it with my dad, but this felt like it was taking forever. No, Dad, I actually think Quincy Jones is properly rated.
Let me, though, explain to you, if I could, the business model of what pay-per-view is. Because Floyd Mayweather
Isn't it pay-per-view?
Yes.
Well, it's in the name.
No, but I'm going to explain to you what it is. You're saying it's dragging, and I'm saying it doesn't matter. It's there to tease you for 6 hours to build up until what you're waiting for. It doesn't matter. It's time spent listening. It's time spent watching. They take those shows that he just mentioned is 90 million people for a half hour. This climbs over the course of the night. You're keeping 8 times as much time occupied over prime time on a Friday night. The value of what it is that Netflix just did is industry changing.
But we also don't have any numbers in terms of how long people actually stayed watching. It's
Right.
just there was 60 million people tuned in at some point in time for some duration.
I'm
but
not
we
saying
don't
it's
know.
60 million for the entire time. I'm saying what the business model is that makes it live television and is seismic as it relates to sports and streaming getting into bed to change everything for all the customers. Is that if they can keep you around a television for 5 hours, it becomes the Super Bowl, because that's what you do on Super Bowl Sunday. Like it's not a half hour. We've got your day. We've got your night. You're waiting around to see if we can get to midnight. And I'm telling you that everything changes from here. If they can pull this stuff off, they will do more and more. You will see ESPN and Disney have to do more and more, like buying TNT's property, because they're trying to keep up with what it is that Netflix is doing. Like, Netflix and Amazon are trying to make this a 2-horse race, and they're trying to get everyone else out of the way, and this is the way that you do it with live sports.
Well, that's a different conversation. I think part of what ESPN's doing is not just buying it. They've been trying to replicate the formula. Their business partners always told them, why can't you be like that property? But this is also part of a settlement, so I think it's a little bit more convoluted. You lost me, though, because that's not what the pay-per-view model is. That's what perhaps streaming model is, and maybe that's what you meant. But pay-per-views, they aren't incentivized to have time spent watching. I got your money, middle finger to you.
Just buy it, you can watch. They don't care. It's a numbers game.
No, but what I'm saying to you is this is the evolution. Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, you're right, Dan. It is the evolution.
But it's not.
Yes.
It is the evolution of boxing. Boxing's the worst, dude. It's the worst. The business, by any standard. MMA now approaches it with the way that Dana White has figured out how to make sure that his labor can't make any of all of this money that they're making with this model. But Floyd Mayweather, 50 Cent was always making fun of him because he couldn't read, but he is the best businessman among athletes that there's ever been because he had all of his intellectual property. What Netflix is doing is being like, no, Floyd, no more for you don't get it all anymore. We will stand above you and we will buy the Jake Pauls and and Bezos and Netflix will then compete to see who gets to be television. Who gets to be the future of television, as Dwayne Johnson can't bring them to the theater anymore on Christmas because the theaters have collapsed.
Dan, I have a question for you. Like, you grew up during like the golden era of boxing. Was the appeal always, let's watch this boxing match because we really want to see one of these guys get smoked in the face?
The heavyweight division was the only one that drew, and the heavyweight division drew because there might be a knockout. Like, that's because there was always
And Mike Tyson.
Because you didn't like the person, or because
No.
that's what I noticed. Like, a lot of people were just hate watching this thing.
That's a lot of boxing traffics and a lot of race stuff. Boxing traffics and a lot of Mexicans versus black people. And let's see if we can get both of those cultures to just gather around with like identity pride around a television. And yes, Floyd Mayweather made all of that money in his career because half of the people were watching to see if he'd get hit. It was actually something that was funny because he's the rare non-heavyweight who got people to watch his fights even though he was playing defense all the time. And it's because so many people just wanted to see him knocked out.
I didn't think Netflix was the big winner of this. I thought that Jake Paul was the big winner of this. Like, Jake Paul,
Yes.
for whatever your feelings are about him, is like incredible at business. That he's able to just generate $20 million to give Mike Tyson so he can make $40 million because he decided he wanted to cosplay a boxer. Like, he's there, and no one knows if he's actually good at boxing, right? Because
We'll never know.
He wins his fights, but he's not actually really fighting talented boxers, right? And he started late in his life for boxing. You'd be starting boxing at, like, in your teens if you were going to be a serious boxer. But I heard this driving in this morning, and it was Spanish language radio, but, like, they were talking, and it sounded ridiculous, but it's not. Jake Paul's the face of boxing right now.
Yep.
He calls himself that, and he's trying to do with his platform good things in introducing. He made a couple of girls stars.
Yeah,
with
you wouldn't
that
have watched
card.
Amanda Serrano if it wasn't for being on that card, probably.
I know this comes with baggage, but I am a fan of what the Jake Paul and Logan Paul media machine has created, and I don't think it's without merit. Say what you will about his actual boxing skill compared to actual boxers. What he's turned himself into is someone that does deserve some respect. Even if he's going in there against other YouTubers or bad boxers, he's turned himself into someone who is at the very least, reputable. And the first thought that was going through my mind as the bell was about to ring, this guy was a YouTuber. This guy was Disney Channel adjacent. He was 17 years old, just goofing around making videos, and then here he is in a boxing ring, staring across the ring from Mike Tyson, the most dangerous man in the world, most feared man in the world at one point, about to engage in combat with a guy. It's just a crazy run. Like, what is this guy's life?
He's also smart enough to know that the gimmick was gone until Mike Tyson entered the picture, and that he needed someone like Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson would not have gotten a $20 million payday without Jake Paul. Jake Paul would not have gotten a $40 million payday without Mike Tyson. They needed each other for this, and he was smart enough to know, I need a giant name for this next stunt, because it was kind of losing some of its momentum. You weren't really following. He even had a fight when they called off the initial fight or delayed it. He's had a fight in between that and this one. No one saw that one. No one cared. They just wanted to see Mike Tyson fight against him. They wanted to see Mike Tyson beat the crap out of him. And we kind of knew that wasn't going to happen, but that's why you were watching.
I thought it was an absolutely brilliant matchup. You had black versus white. You had young versus old. You had all of the animus against the self-promoter, Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned self-made boxer. You had Mike Tyson, who for most of his career was the perfect villain. All of a sudden, he's the lovable grandpa that everybody's rooting for. I thought the dynamic
and convicted rapist.
Okay, we can say that, but I think
we should probably say that.
Well, you said it.
To have him be the likable, lovable one in this one is doing some climbing. It's doing some work.
I think for a lot of people, we're rooting for Mike Tyson. Okay.
I'm not even disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that, look, boxing's the worst.
Yes.
Boxing is the worst. Look, Mike can respect the business.
Playing both sides.
He can respect the business.
Well, Danny
of
Merchant's
this.
coming out.
I'm not playing both sides. I'm telling you, you're out here because Jake Paul won that fiasco at business, getting respect when what's that on that guy's resume? Boxing's the worst. He deserves to be the face of boxing. And another element in boxing that's in play. I saw this on an episode of Rich and Shameless. The promoter, Richie Parker, realized so instantaneously that what boxing needs is a big white dude that he got Mark Gastineau.
Oh, man.
And it was all a crock, an enormous crock. And at one point, allegedly, he tried to poison an opposing boxer because Gastineau was so terrible at actually boxing. Do not sell me on the merits of Jake Paul as a boxer. It's the desperation of an American that wants a white guy who's violent, who can beat people up, and this guy will do as he beats up a 58-year-old.
First of all, I do have respect for what Jake Paul has created. I was telling Greg this last week. We were rooting for Tyson to knock him out.
Right.
But my daughter was rooting, didn't know who Mike Tyson was rooting for Jake Paul to knock out Mike Tyson. Wanted Jake Paul to win, wants to see more Jake Paul. So the younger demographic really likes this guy, or at least is entertained by what it is that Jake Paul is doing. This has to break Dan's soul. Because Dan truly cares about the sport of boxing, the art of boxing, the history of boxing. He loves this sport, and this sport has turned into a gimmick. A gimmick is its greatest card, its greatest strength, and that has to drive purists crazy.
Well, yes and no, right? Because where does the spectacle go from here? Because, like, when he started this whole thing, it was basically like, I can get all of the streamers to tune in, and it will be like a streaming all-star game, right? Like, I'll have everybody come in, I'll have all of the, influencers or whatever at this, and then he realized I can make this mainstream by getting someone like a Mike Tyson. But what's the next name? Like, who does he fight that can outdo Tyson? Because
he wants Canelo.
Okay.
He's calling out Canelo. He also
Just
called
saying,
out.
that's who he's calling out.
He also called out Conor McGregor
in an MMA fight.
In MMA, where he is like 2.5 times bigger than
But
Conor
I don't
McGregor.
I don't think that will necessarily outdo Tyson. Might have been it. Like, this was a great spectacle,
Dude,
but I feel
Canelo,
like
because he would actually get beaten that one.
Yeah.
People, I'm not Dan. I
Canelo
know it's
would
a
crush
sham.
him.
I
Canelo
know,
and
but
Conor
people
would
would
be
watch
better.
that.
But
People would watch
but
that.
Canelo doesn't have the same cultural relevance in this country as Mike Tyson does.
Conor McGregor.
Internationally, it might be.
There is no bigger fight that he can make than Jake Paul, Conor McGregor.
I can't
MMA.
believe,
I'm still waiting on Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather too. I'd still watch that.
That was good.
I can't believe that this is where we are on the next step in this sport. I will say that it is several shades beyond infuriating to see you guys set up a Jake Paul Canelo match that makes me want to fight all of you.
Why are you getting so offended by that?
We should do that. That's
Yeah.
what the next fight should be. Dan versus every single one of us.
We all like fights. Stop it with your high horse. If I told you,
it's
Dan,
Canelo Alvarez would destroy this human being. It
Maybe.
shows
Destroy
And
him.
don't you want to see that? That's what everyone wanted to see on Saturday.
Problem is, we like fights and spectacles. Dan likes the sweet science.
The sweet
It's not even the sweet science.
Yes.
It's that you offend me with your ignorance putting Jake Paul in a ring with Canelo Alvarez. That's where it all ends. All of it ends there. There will be no better, bigger fight for him than to fight one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the history of boxing and promptly lose in a way that shows everybody, oh, my God, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
but it's human to want to watch people fight, especially famous people. Dan, if I told you, hey, out in the parking garage, Danny Bonaducci's fighting Chris Chelios, you're going to want to see that.
Oh, Chelios would win that, though, right?
I've seen Bonaducci throw down.
Really?
I think the sad part is Canelo should jump at that fight if it's offered to him. He needs that fight.
That's the way Jake does it. to him.
Canelo needs Jake Paul at this point.
Canelo needs the fight.
When's the last Canelo fight you watched?
You're right. I haven't watched the Canelo fight,
Canelo
and I
is
wouldn't
a-
watch this fight, though.
Canelo is a pay-per-view beast. You guys underestimate how much of Mexico watches every time
No,
he
but
fights.
Jake says it when they ask him. He needs me. If he wants a payday, he knows where I'm at.
Wow.
Christopher and I on my podcast out today.
The Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
That's correct. We actually
It's not correct. It's with.
Fine.
It's
Wait,
with.
you
You're
knew
right.
the whole time?
You're right. We discuss fighting each other, like Christopher and I in the ring, because our age difference is somewhat similar to the age difference between Tyson and Jake Paul.
Would I have been a bigger favorite than Jake Paul?
Well, here's
against
the
my
thing.
dad? That's what we were debating.
You know, not to get personal, Christopher's got to drop about 25 pounds to get down to my weight class.
tell him.
I think I don't know how you measure a reach.
You've got
But-
bad
You measure
arms. Aren't you having a bad arm
Well,
week?
I'm having a bad arm
arm
day,
week, yeah.
and I would fight him with a long sleeve shirt, but I do think that my reach is as long as his. Okay, so if he drops 25 pounds, I got that old man strength.
Chris Cody would be a bigger favorite against you than Jake Paul was against Mike
I
Tyson.
think
Well,
Greg
we'll
would
see about
mop
that.
the floor with his son.
Thank you.
I do. I really
Thank
do.
you.
Because you think, okay, in theory, it's a good idea. I'm going to fight my dad. Until you get in the ring with your dad And you don't want to punch your dad.
Well, my dad,
I mean-
my dad actually is suspiciously strong for his age.
There you
Doesn't
go.
have very much stamina, but whenever I jostle my father physically, I'm always surprised how much
are you
wiry
jostling him
rage. I
physically?
just like doing
He
it.
does that. He loves to jostle.
I saw him do it with his grandfather, and
Right.
so of course I do it too.
OMS is a real thing.
Greg versus Chris really does put this in perspective.
Thank
yes, thank you, Jessica. That was good. It's some of the best analysis I've heard. And I also think that Billy's analysis is good when he says, hey, Dan, Netflix doesn't get to be the big winner when everyone internationally is complaining about their buffering problem. But I am both appalled by the way the business of this works as somebody who loves sports and would like a sporting event that has merit to get this, as opposed to the evolution of let's just throw a bunch of famous things together and let's make Jake Paul the face of combat sports. And it's like, wait a minute, do you know how many people are almost literally killing themselves to get to the top of this art, and you're going to make this clown. You're going to make this clown the face of it because he's YouTube famous and he's got the perfect people he's picking to fight. And he'll find somebody. Because this business is booming. It's never been better and bigger than it is today when your big corporate partner is Netflix trying to figure out how to beat everyone else at this particular game.
But he has to keep winning, right? The second he loses, it's over.
He's already lost.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
He's lost once.
Jake Paul's lost.
He
It's a
to Tommy-
bad business
he
strategy.
Lost to Tommy Fury.
Wow. Seems to be doing okay, though. I shouldn't really question his business strategy, but
But to your point, though, if he had lost to Mike Tyson, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, his boxing career might have ended.
Again,
he lost.
not a real boxer. That he overachieves beyond wherever it is your expectations were for a YouTuber, fine. But you put him in a ring with any of the top 10 contenders in his weight class, and he will lose quickly. You can make the squeaking sounds all you like. He will lose quickly to real fighters.
Don't we all know that?
No, I don't believe that Billy and others do. No, I do
what?
not.
No, everyone here. I think certainly
catching
everyone here.
strays for.
We all know what this is. Him versus Canelo. I think we all know how that one goes.
No, but I think
it's
that
a
that-
sideshow.
I'd like to see how it
Okay.
goes.
I'd watch it.
No,
I
you
wanna
wouldn't.
see
You
how
wouldn't
it
like
goes.
to see.
Oh,
it.
I
Oh,
would.
Dan, you'd watch Canelo, Jake. Dan, you'd watch Canelo, Jake.
Watch it.
You watch this
Wasted
one.
You watched the 60-year-old man
You watched
do it.
this one. I didn't watch
You
it.
watched
Because he wasn't fighting a real fighter. He was fighting someone who was 60.
But you watched it.
Wouldn't a real fighter pique your curiosity just to see if he could hang with
No,
Canelo?
because he can't. I know
Well,
that
there's
he
only
cannot.
one way to find out.
Couldn't hang with a real fighter's brother.
Not only one way to find out.
It's
I
the only way to
already-
find out.
I already know.
How
I
can you?
already
It's
know.
impossible.
You're talking about the 8th-ranked heavyweight whose name I have no idea
I'm
of
talking
would
about,
automatically
I'm
be
talking
favored?
about anybody within 25 pounds of him that is a ranked fighter. Anybody. I'll give you 50 pounds because Canelo's not.
Canelo is 168. Like Jake is in the 220s. He's gonna fight someone 60 pounds heavier than him. No
yes,
chance.
Yes.
Yeah, Canelo has to bulk up for that one.
He's gonna have to.
He will. He
I don't
would.
know.
Okay. You keep saying this as someone whose entry into this entire conversation was I don't care about any of this. Like you're the way you
Well,
started. I don't care about anything
That's
that
why I'm
happened Saturday
entertaining this
night.
fight.
The Chiefs had not lost since Christmas of last year. Joe Burrow is the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 300-plus yards, 3+ TDs, no interceptions in back-to-back games, and lose both of them.
That's a good loss for the Chiefs, though, right? Because they got the Bills right where they want them. The Bills acting like they won the Super Bowl yesterday. Congratulations, you won a regular season game, and they still have home field advantage. I mean, what are you doing?
Joe Burrow has 3,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. They're 4-7. Nobody
Football, man.
ever has the great quarterback going 4-7 like that when the quarterback is playing great. But we are joined now. We have to stop because Stugotz looked into the preview and he was delighted because this man looks more like the face of boxing than Jake Paul does. Jacob Duran, Stitch is his name. He's the cut man for one of the best cut men working in boxing and MMA.
What a great nickname for a cut man, Stitch.
Yes, Jacob Stitch Duran is with us, and thank you, Jacob. You do look like the face of boxing. You look like the corner of every corner I've ever seen in a boxing match. Thank you for being on with us. What were your thoughts of the overall experience on Friday night?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, you guys. But yeah, the energy level is still at its high point right now. Getting a little bit of sleep, answering a lot of questions like this, doing interviews, and it's been phenomenal. But I'll take it all in stride because it was such a historical event, such a historical moment that will never be duplicated. But the high probability of working Mike Tyson's last fight, to me that was kind of like a feather on my cap, man. So it doesn't get much better than that.
Yes, it does. It was a crappy fight.
Yeah, well, regard that, forget the fights. I don't look at that. I look at the events, right? And then you're looking at a 50-year-old man with a 27-year-old young man. So you are going to see discrepancies in that. So, yeah, it was more entertainment than it was victory value.
At any point, did you feel bad for Mike?
Well, I knew that he started slowing down like the start of the third round. I told Amir Abdullah, I said, it looked like he had hit a wall, and people were talking about his leg and all that. And, I'm focused on his face, so I'm not looking from here down. And but in the dressing room and all that, he seemed fine.
How would the fight have had to have gone for Tyson to have a real chance? Like what strategically, what would Jake Paul have had to do that would have really enabled Mike to have a shot?
Fight him at the beginning instead of run away.
Yeah, I think the conditioning factor, if you got a 58-year-old man, so the conditioning factor I think was the overall discrepancy in this whole event. But I saw him train. I saw Mike train, and I've known him, got over 25 years. We just trained the same gym, so I knew his intensity type of training. And the days I was in the gym, I saw that. And I saw his sparring, and I saw that. But, I think, the excitement, the adrenaline and everything, and then going into a fight and then, going combat with another one will drain you right off the bat. And I think that's what happened there.
Jacob, obviously you've been in the game forever. You're a legend. You've seen and know more about boxing than we ever know. Would Canelo stand a chance against Jake Paul?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Jake Paul, as I break down the events or fighters and all that, there's A, B, C, and D. Jake Paul's a good B fighter. He's a good athlete, and the reason I know that, because like say I've done like 3 events with him, 4 or 5 all together in the same programs, but they were wrestlers. And when I had a school of kickboxing, guys that were wrestlers that came into kickboxing made a good transition because they're athletes, right? So, but Canelo's a horse of a different color, bro. So now you're chewing a little bit more off than your ego is letting you do. So.
Jacob, I want to put in front of you an accusation by Mike Ryan, who says, and you were in the locker room, that the Mike Tyson ass video where he turned around after being interviewed by his son to reveal ass, shocking an international audience at old man ass. Mike Ryan says that was a manufactured for television moment, that it was orchestrated. Can you give us from inside the locker room your personal opinion?
Well, I saw Mike walking around, of course, bare ass. And I was going to take a picture, but I said, nah, that's a little too personal. And then and then I see it on social media, and I don't know who put it out there, but yeah, that was Mike at his finest point.
So
Okay.
it's not usually part of his normal routine. Interesting.
Yeah. That's just he just finished putting his cup on and walking around, and just kind of learned to accept Mike Tyson as Mike Tyson.
Okay, but Mike Ryan is saying that is a manufactured for television shock moment to go viral. Do you believe it was orchestrated? Yes or no?
No, not at all. Not at all. Mike's doing his thing, and it wasn't orchestrated for that at all. That'd be embarrassing to Mike, I'm sure. I'm sure he got embarrassed. I'm sure his family got embarrassed.
No, he looked great.
Yeah, he looked great. It's a great ass.
Look
Yeah.
pretty good. And it's just a weird time to be doing it. You've been with him for a long time in his career. It's just an odd time to start doing something for the first time, walking around like that.
Okay, that's fine. You can have your cynicisms if you want. The man is in the corner. The man is giving you his opinion.
Is he in the production meetings?
You want to interrogate him? You want to?
I mean, it sounds like you were trying to get the answer you wanted.
Okay, well,
you,
keep
you don't
going.
want to believe that this
All right,
was
you know
totally
what?
manufactured.
Yeah, no, I don't see that as being fabricated at all.
No, Jake Paul would never.
Yeah. Oh, Jake Paul, huh? Hey, man, I'm new in this social media stuff, so, you guys might have something, but I don't know.
Now I got
didn't
my
know who
answer.
took the picture.
Keep going, Mike. Keep interrogating Jacob Stitch Duran. Go ahead. Keep interrogating. See if you can get the answer you want.
On the cut front, wasn't very busy for you. What was the deal with these big goofy gloves? I mean, 2-minute rounds. Everybody had action on knockouts, and it became very evident that after 2 rounds, we're not going to actually.
They're
see
playing
the
with
fireworks.
clown cartoon gloves.
Yeah, those are sparring gloves, and just to see the 8 2-minute rounds to me was a surprise, but I understand. This was not to see, who's the best gladiator in the world. It's to see how much attention you're going to draw to this type of fight, and I think it worked out for everybody.
Yes,
So,
it did. That's right. It did.
18, the first time I've been in a fight, in a pro fight, in a major fight, where 14-ounce gloves have been used.
Stitch, take out the gloves from it and all the rules, and we were trying to figure out who was the greatest gladiator, and they were fighting to the death without rules. Who would have won?
Oh, without rules, just the whole at the same age level.
No, as it was.
No,
As it
same
was,
age.
yeah.
Yes.
Same
As
age.
they were in their prime. Mike's
No,
a
yeah,
beat.
come on.
Not
Yeah,
in
Mike-
Mike's prime. He's saying right now.
Right now,
He's
Friday.
saying,
Oh,
no,
right
no,
now.
this Friday
Yeah.
we're going to do a rematch.
Yeah,
To the
but
death.
now,
No
to
gloves.
the death. No rules.
Yeah,
No
no,
jock straps. Naked.
There's an old saying
In an
this
alley.
sport- There's an old saying in this sport where you can beat anything, but you can't beat time. So hopefully that answers that question, right?
You think
And,
Jake Paul
Father
would kill
Time.
Mike Tyson? Stitch, you just said that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jacob, just real quick to put a bow on it. Is this the worst actual boxing match you've ever been a part of?
Well, yeah, I don't really consider it a boxing match, but it's the most entertaining one for sure.
Okay, no, but that's not what I asked you. No, that's
think,
fine.
You know what? I think as the fight's going on, and I hear people booing out there, and I say, they're going to have to pick it up a little bit, right? And but I expected a toe-to-toe fight for as long as it lasted, to be honest with you.
You seem to be leading the witness here, Dan. I mean,
I just asked him, is it or is it not the
you
worst
kind of
fight
walked
you've
him
ever
right
been
into the
involved?
answer.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I try to give you the kind of answer to stroke you so I go to the next one.
Wow.
Baby.
I just asked him.
You guys want to play the game? Let's play the game, man. Come on.
I just asked him the question of whether it was or it wasn't. It was a question.
All right.
Yeah, but you know what? And when you look deep into what goes on when guys are making contact, all right, it's a hit sport, it's a hurt sport. You got whatever the result's going to be, you got to give those guys credit for just being in there taking a shot, and but yeah, so respect to them both, and yeah, it was a shitty fight. I agree, and I'm not going to expected a lot more, but in the sense it was good for the entertainment value.
Listen, people are cynical. They assume the next $20 million offer is going to change everything. Percentage likelihood that we have seen Mike Tyson's last fight ever.
Oh yeah, I would probably say the probability is almost 100%. I think reality will kick in that you can beat anything, but you can't beat time. So I think he'll do fine.
He's one of the best cut men working in boxing and MMA. Jacob, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate the time, sir.
Nah, thank you guys. I'm gonna go back to sleep now because it's an early call for me. So thanks for having me on, guys.
You really get it. You get the entertainment value of the thing. You don't care if it impacts boxing or not. And Father Time is undefeated. You really get it, man.
Great mustache, too.
Yeah, great.
And a great mustache. How old is that mustache, Jacob?
Oh, beautiful.
Well, since I was 12 years old, like Pedro.
Oh, wow. Since he was 12 years old, you had that much. What? That must have been shocking to the other 12-year-olds to have that mustache when
And
you
your
were 12
teachers.
years old.
I mean,
Yeah, and you know it's funny in the Undisputed game they have me without my glasses, and I said, well, you know, my mustache, my glasses, and my hair are my profile, so I'm trying to get it back.
Good seeing you,
Thanks for having me
Jacob.
on, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to get to Stugotz's weekend observations here in just a second, but I did want to get back, Stugotz, quickly before we do that, to a couple of football-related things. The Bears lose in maximum Bears fashion. They allowed one touchdown when they were offside and had 12 men on the field and allowed the touchdown anyway. The Packers debilitate them at the end. What are you smirking about, Jessica?
Me? Nothing. Terrible loss for the Bears. Yeah. So stinky.
I'm still trying to process that guy at age 12.
with a mustache.
With a mustache that looked like that at age 12. Please, I couldn't grow that mustache today.
You're having some difficulty here with your bad arm day, and you've been having an unruly hair situation. Have you cut your hair since we publicly cut your hair here? Have you cut your hair? Because it seems like it's grown out a great deal, and when I came in here, it looked like you had stuck your finger in a light socket.
Yeah, I had, actually, which is surprising because the light sockets are so small. It's tough to do that, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody else. I have had a haircut since the freebie I got here, which wasn't really free because I had to tip the guy $20. But I need a haircut. But the arm day, I don't know when it's going to go away, but I'll be
Bad arm week, I thought.
You know, well, it's a bad arm week for now. You know, it'll take a while. I mean, it's.
Have you ever had a bad arm month, Greg?
Yeah.
I have in the past. It comes and goes, this condition. And I've talked to my skin doctor about it. I was a dermatologist.
Yep.
And she's not overly concerned. She's like, it's sort of an age thing. Don't worry about it. Forget about it.
The splotchiness on your arms.
Yeah, and I would like a magic cream that just made it go away. Because it's the red splotches.
And you can moisturize.
It's unsightly. You know, so it is what it is.
Doctors need to find the perfect balance, right? Because I don't like a doctor that's way too lax about things, but I also don't like a doctor that's overly concerned about situations. You need a doctor that's very level-headed and meets kind of what you need from them, right?
Yeah, I like overly concerned.
Really?
Yeah. I have a little bit of hypochondriac in me, and so I want that extra test. I want that extra scan.
What are you talking about? You famously undersell everything to your doctors.
No, you think I do.
I've had to go to doctor's appointments with you. No. When your cough was bad, I went with you to a doctor's appointment.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I spoke to the doctor, and he was like, "Oh, you haven't told me any of this."
Greg, your thoughts, if I were to rewind the last 90 seconds for the people who are listening to this, it's like you don't know that you're on the air and you're not performing. It's just you're talking around the kitchen, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter whether what you're saying makes sense or not. It's just unspooling gibberish instead of thoughts like you're a professional broadcaster on a Monday.
Okay, I've heard him make this rant before.
Yeah.
Right.
It's only partly rooted in truth. I take care of myself like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Okay,
We know.
I see 6 doctors. I got scans out the ass. Everybody's always taking x-rays and doing this, doing that, popping pills, 6 pills a day. Nobody works on their health more than Greg Cody. Nobody, okay? That kind of thing.
It seems like you should be concerned, though. I mean, all those scans, medications.
But I got it under control.
Okay.
Good.
But you're having a bad arm week, and the way that you have it under control is by wearing a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, because she can't prescribe a magic lotion for me. Invent one.
It's on her.
Yeah.
You're bruising because your dog jumps up because you can't discipline it and scratches you with its talons, right?
In this case, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And you are now officially a person who bruises easily. You were not that before.
Yeah, I have little bit of a crepey skin thing.
Well, when it comes to hypochondria, though, I think of Stugotz as more of a hypochondriac than you. I think of you as someone who will stubbornly not go to the doctor. Is it because you're a hypochondriac and you don't want the doctor to tell you the truth about what things are happening? Because I know when, for example, you look jaundiced or green or are coughing too much, it takes many of us 7 or 8 times to push you to a doctor because you're reluctant.
Yeah, I think 5 years ago, all of that was true. When I was at my worst, after I'd come out of my fairly major surgery on my abdomen, and I had such a chronic cough that I had to leave my own bedroom. I couldn't sleep at night. I had to go to the far end of the house and try to sleep because I couldn't fall asleep because of my chronic cough.
A special kind of torture, that one.
Yes, it was. And we finally got that under control with medication, and that taught me that this isn't going to take care of itself. I need to really start seeing doctors and medicating myself and figure out what's going on.
Your son is rolling his eyes at you right now
Okay,
because your son famously, I'm always chasing after your son, stay after your father because he's rolling his eyes at you because of how hard it is to get you to take care of yourself.
Look, you've gotten better about this. I'll give you that, but you're not a hypochondriac. Like you're like going to the far end of the spectrum. Like you're now every single thing I go into the like. Mom is still having to be like, oh, you're coughing bad this week. Why don't you make an appointment? Like,
I mean, Greg, he is right because hypochondriacs, and I am one, they just show up to the doctor without an appointment.
Can't get enough doctor.
Right, I can't get enough. Give me a reason to come back.
Yeah, I'm not quite there. I'm not quite that bad. But if I have a tickle in my throat and I clear my throat, your mother wants me to get some more prednisone. You know, I don't want to doctors don't like to prescribe steroids.
Well, that's the issue is that your fix for this is a steroid.
Well, that prednisone's my magic drug.
That's not a long-term solution, though, is what I've always argued.
You're right. It isn't. It helps when I'm taking the pills and a few days after that. But you're right. It isn't. But that's why I puff inhalers and take other pills. You know, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I'm 70 years old. I have asthma, mild COPD. And I'm doing the best I can.
Can you rub the prednisone on your arms? Since it's a magic pill.
Is it?
Can someone explain to me why it is any of us ever say it is what it is? Like just as an expression.
I don't know, but I hate it so much.
I know
it drives me. I hate when I say it, and when I say it, I get mad at myself.
But sometimes it is what it is, right?
Roy loves this one, but as a signature catchphrase, it stinks. It doesn't mean anything, and I don't know why it is anyone would utter it.
It's terrible. It's thought terminating. You say it is what it is, and like, yeah. It is like what?
No, but it's because you don't have anything to say. It's a bridge to other thoughts. It's not useful commentary. It's a waste of breath.
Well, you mentioned earlier the phrase "time will tell." It's in that similar category.
Yes, Bill. Well, I objected to that too when Billy said it. Just in terms of useless commentary, I'd like useful commentary. I've got plenty of useless commentary.
Yeah, well,
so time will tell, and it is what it is. It's just not helpful.
I mean, time will tell. You want me to go game by game in the Marlins schedule, tell you how the manager's going to do? We don't even know who's on what teams yet. Free agency is going on now. You know, I can do the game by game. You want to do game by game for the Marlins season?
We're going to get to Stugotz's weekend observations here in a second. I did want to ask you guys though, because you guys rose up on me last week when I probably got carried away and I said that Cam Ward had lost the Heisman because he doesn't have enough Heisman moments. And what I wanted to ask you, because I saw it revealed to me on Saturday, Fox goes to its studio and they go to Emmanuel Acho. This made me laugh out loud when they did it. So it's the Acho room, and he's going to be maximum televised Acho. And for some reason, they're playing the highlight package of Travis Hunter, who had 3 plays in that Colorado game that are the kinds of plays that you need to win this trophy, plays that are played over and over again. But they go to Emmanuel Acho, and all they're going to him on is to cover those 3 plays, which are being played under his feet. Like it's not being played on the screen behind him. It's just to show you that they have the technological capacity to show you Travis Hunter running around on the floor beneath Acho's feet as he points right and left to where the plays are going. But it was simply for Fox to show you that they have the technology to do this with the floor, which is exactly how it is. You end up getting the kind of pub that you need so that everyone is noticing your big plays in a way that they haven't had signature memorable plays for Cam Ward.
Fox also trotted out a hologram Tom Brady.
Creepy.
During their pregame show.
What?
Creepy.
That everybody apparently didn't like.
Imagine.
Tell me more.
He was standing next to the guys in studio, but he wasn't actually standing there. It was a hologram of Tom Brady, and they would talk about it, and they would talk to the
They're like
hologram.
facing each other. You see
Yeah.
Gronk looking
They're
this
talking
way.
to.
But real Tom
imagine.
Brady is somewhere else talking back.
Right.
Okay.
He's where he's broadcasting the game of the day. So imagine explaining to Gronk, look to your left as if Tom Brady was there, but he's not, and you're talking to him.
We're getting carried away, aren't we?
I mean, it's cool. It's getting the people talking. I mean, change up studio.
We are no
production.
longer criticizing Tom Brady as a broadcaster. He can now just sort of ease into being $375 million guy.
I think they're pretty much really doing that week to week on the social media front. I know Mad Dog Russo had a takeout of him. It hasn't gone the way that we'd hoped. He's had some bright moments, but this is also a really kooky dynamic that he has over there. It might actually lead to harsher criticism, and hopefully he gets a little bit more comfortable because he's not interfacing with these people when he's calling these games because he's a part owner of the Raiders. It's not going great. I thought it was going to be a lot better. I think I have to capitulate on this one.
He just got to tighten it up. He just goes too long. He's always talking, and it's like, okay, you're doing well, just stop. And he just goes always that like 5 or seconds too much. 5 or 6 seconds too much.
We got it.
He was trying to save time.
Yeah, you
Take
are.
a note, Tom
That's what
Brady.
Brady needs to do.
Tom Brady is getting panned, but I thought it was a lot quieter than it was after game one. Like, we're going to complain on whoever the broadcaster is. We're not giving a whole lot of praise to anybody these days for broadcasting.
We didn't
are
complain
we?
about Olsen, did we?
No, but he's
I
not
mean-
the one that's getting the praise now because he's not on the main game, and there were no expectations for Olsen. He was an
That's fair.
unexpected surprise. I've told you one of the great theater experiences of my life, movie theater, was The Matrix, because I don't like Keanu Reeves and I don't like science fiction. So I go in and I see The Matrix and I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect anything. Nobody expected anything from Greg Olsen, and he was able to consistently surprise us. Tom Brady walks in, $375 million. It's all we're talking about before he started. The expectations are totally different. The expectation of excellence is a crippler, but I thought the criticism had been diluted. It doesn't mean there's not going to be criticism. I just thought it was worse on week one than it's been since, that he's since become a bit of an afterthought. It's not one of the main talking points of the weekend that Tom Brady is less good at his job than you'd like him to be.
It was up there with the Russo thing, and I think most people generally have the same complaint that Chris has. He's talking too much. My criticism is he's not leaning on his own personal experience all that much and not becoming really a storyteller, because if you're not going to have inside access in these rooms, if you're not meeting with the coach, I just want to hear Tom Brady's true thoughts. And he's had those moments, like with Baker Mayfield. They were essentially beefing on air because they didn't have the opportunity to clear the air face to face. And when he was also calling Baker Mayfield on that Bosa play, saying that's the greatest play I've ever seen a quarterback make. These are where Tom Brady speaks with authority, and I wish he would be encouraged to do that more.
Mike is so right about that, because Tom Brady has been in every possible situation a quarterback whose game he's calling is going through at that time, and he never draws on those past experiences to explain to the audience, this is what the quarterback is thinking, this is what I went through, and this is what you need to do. He needs to do more of that, and he needs to just relax. He is very stiff in there. He just seems stiff. He seems nervous.
So why didn't you like Keanu Reeves?
Just wasn't a fan of his
Like
work.
Johnny Mnemonic?
Just wasn't a big
What-
fan of
what-
Keanu.
what
None
work?
of them. Like,
Oh,
didn't
okay.
love the Bill and Ted stuff. Didn't love any of it.
I rewatched Bram Stoker's
Point
Dracula.
Break.
His hair color
Did you see Point Break?
changes like camera shot to camera shot. Sometimes it's white hair. Sometimes what is happening there? Sometimes it's brown. Sometimes it's salt and pepper. Sometimes it's just straight up white.
You say what is happening there, and I asked that question of the San Francisco 49ers because
Segue.
you mentioned Bosa and that play with Baker Mayfield very quietly yesterday under the avalanche of everything that happened in football. A team we believe to be playoff good, San Francisco 49ers, take a hit yesterday, and it was funny to see them lose against Seattle at home. As soon as Bosa left the game, Geno Smith 2 touchdowns. Like Bosa leaves the game with a hip injury, and it's like, oh, there goes their pass rush, and there goes everything. They just lost because they can't stop Geno Smith from any angle. They can't get a pass rush, and they just lost to Seattle at home when none of us think that that's what the San Francisco 49ers season's supposed to be this year.
Seattle is confusing, huh?
Not really.
Really?
No, they'll be 500.
Can't figure that
They'll be
team out.
500 with Geno Smith, and it'll come close to leading the league in passing, and you won't win anything.
The Lions
be
are going to win the
500.
Super Bowl. The Lions have to win the Super Bowl this year.
They added a game. It's hard. You can't go 500 anymore.
I'm just saying they'll
Which
be a
is
mediocre
stupid.
Tie,
team.
you can.
Yeah.
No
I
more
mean-
8-8.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
What are we
I
doing
love
with
it.
odd numbers? I
Stugotz's
don't like
beloved
it.
tie.
The NFC West, by the way, is still very much up for grabs. Even after yesterday's game, they're still only a game out of first place.
I also happen to think it's actually really good. They're just beating each other up, so the general impression of the division as a whole is not probably where it should be.
We will get to Stugotz's weekend observations in a second, but from among the football things from the weekend, because we haven't gotten to college football yet, there were two things from that Titans game that were worth talking about. One of them
Really?
is that they had the longest play in the sport this year, 98 yards.
Huh.
The other one was, this bothered me. The Titans are on defense. The Vikings have 4th and goal, and they throw into the end zone. And the ball is broken up by what has been throughout my entire lifetime a perfectly legal hit right in the chest. And a flag comes out, and then it puts it goal line situation, first down. It's just a really damaging penalty to get wrong. It's worth way too much in a sport where the points are hard to come by, and it's hard to score against Minnesota. And I end up getting bothered because I legitimately don't know anymore what is a legal hit in football, because if you hit someone too hard, I'm like, that's a penalty. Even when you hit them with your shoulder in the chest, which is what happened. Like, they accused him of launching and a bunch of other different things. And I'm like, no, that's just it. Like, that's a hit. You're allowed to hit somebody in the chest with your shoulder. It's not the sport is too violent that you're going to change the way that this game is recorded because you're making a call that is so punitive on something that doesn't seem to be the right call. And what you're penalizing, that looked too violent on television. That's what you're penalizing. It's no longer that you're actually penalizing football. It's just that looked bad is what it was. And I guess we're now protecting sternums. And when I'm watching that, given how hard it is to get points in that game,
Right.
given that it seems like everyone's playing in a phone booth, even though that game had a 98-yard play, Will Levis is running around out there trying to kill himself to not score. Like, they're not scoring against Minnesota. So if you give Minnesota free points, you're not going to be able to be in that game if you're Tennessee.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if you guys are watching any of this and being like, this isn't even being like, I understand how you have to make the game safer. I understand the moral conundrums involved with the general violence of the game. But once you've gotten to the point that you can't hit someone in a way that looks like it hurts without being penalized, I'm like, you're no longer legislating football. You're just doing PR.
Yeah, I would argue that there's an overprotection of the quarterback right now, and that there's also an inconsistency on what and what isn't unnecessary roughness. I saw a play yesterday where the defender shoves the quarterback in the chest.
Yep.
And the quarterback, theatrically, I thought, falls backwards on
Well,
his
you
back.
have to sell it now because you know they're going to call it.
Right,
Or
and
there's a
it-
chance they're going to call
Yeah,
it.
and that was a flag, and I didn't think it should have been. I thought it was a shove. It was what seemed like a pretty mild shove to the chest. The quarterback didn't have to fall, but the flag flew, and I think that's an example of overprotecting the quarterback.
Yeah, Dan, there was also, like, in the non-quarterback category, this happened in a play in a Steelers game a few weeks ago where Minka Fitzpatrick got flagged for the same sort of hit you're talking about, where it was a really, really, like, bone-crushing hard hit, but it was legal. And so I think it was against the Colts. They got 15 yards, ended up scoring, won the game by, like, 3 points. And afterwards, the refs said that was an incorrect call, and it was actually shouldn't have been penalized. And so, like, just from watching football all weekend, like, the Pitt Clemson game on Saturday, there was inconsistencies with the roughing the passer call where Cade Klubnik got roughed and they called it on Pitt, and then like a few plays later Pitt's quarterback had a like massive shot to the helmet that they didn't call initially, and then eventually the refs did call it after everyone booed them for 5 minutes. It was just a disaster. The Notre Dame Virginia game had a ton of bad calls in it. Like, the officiating, just, I don't know what to say about it other than it is wildly inconsistent. It's frustrating as a fan, especially when there's points being put on the board because of calls like this in late game situations. And I just don't know what else there is
Jessica,
to say
though,
other than it stinks
I
sometimes.
keep saying forms of the following, though. The reason it's wildly inconsistent, it can't humanly be done consistently. It's moving too fast. Like, we can put all sorts of stipulations in there. You know what you could do? If something is too punitive to be game altering, we're always reviewing that. We don't care if it slows up the game. You can't have something go from 4th and short, you've turned over the ball, to that 7 points because of what you just called. You should review that until you get that right. Like, there's no circumstance under which a penalty should be that punitive where it's worth more than all the other things in a sport we're watching, where we're like, oh, look, the Ravens and the Steelers are trying to kill each other. What's the difference in that game? The kicker can't make a couple of kicks. These calls are worth too much to do it poorly. And you're trying to govern something that simply can't be governed consistently. It's not a problem of these people aren't competent or they're not putting in enough hours. All of that shit's moving too fast for old human beings to be able to get everything right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I sort of empathize with, like, having to make those split-second decisions, but I don't know what the solution is, because I do think people care about the game being slowed down a lot. People hate reviews, especially if you're at a game and you're wasting 3 minutes on a total slowdown. It kills the momentum. It kills the fun. Like, no one wants to see football games get even longer because of long, slow reviews after just tackles.
It's an either-or situation, though. You get one, not both, sports fan. You either get your sport properly officiated or you deal with longer games. You don't get to have both of those things.
I'll take the longer games with them getting it right. Yeah, the Vikings yesterday, huh? I mean,
I did not have the Vikings.
Spent a lot of time on Vikings-Titans.
No, it was just when they were in the red zone twice. One was a 98-yard play, and the other time was I'm looking at a call. I'm like, that's not right. That's not. You can't do that. Right. And did anyone else have trouble with the glitchiness of the red zone? I saw a ton of complaints about it, but no one here had glitchiness with the red zone. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Was your red zone glitchy this weekend? Because this weekend reminded me, with the technological issues, of the advent of people getting addicted to the cell phone before the cell towers had totally the technology that they needed. So calls were always breaking up, but we had already gotten used to this is something that we do in the car, so it needs to work. So we complain about the cell towers. This weekend, you notice what the danger is in live sports, because the reason I saw a lot of complaints is, man, you make it glitchy during the witching hour, you're messing with people's addictions now. You're now invading
it's where wins turn to losses.
The entertainment being diluted there is not allowed because you've gotten too used to consuming it without dilution. So when you tune into Jake Paul and Tyson and you get buffering, or where you turn into the red zone and you get buffering, people get angrier about that than any other kind of buffering.
There's a commercial that airs occasionally when I'm watching games on YouTube TV, and I have an Android TV, and in the commercial itself, the actor goes, "Hey, Google." And that automatically sets off my remote, and it pauses the entire thing. I'm doing it to someone else right now, and I apologize. But I feel like this should have been considered when we put this ad out there, because you have a solid chunk. I imagine like 30% of the people watching that in that moment all of a sudden have to pause and tell their TV, no, that wasn't me. I didn't mean to do that.
I'm confused, though. When you guys talk about boxing, you always talk about buffer this, buffer that. But then when Netflix buffers, you don't like buffer anymore.
You know what I love on YouTube is the moment of zen.
It's the best.
It is unbelievable.
It is so good. Yes, I'll skip that ad.
Valhalla.
Mike, is there anyone in our audience whose wife is named Siri who has this problem?
No, but maybe there's some Alexas over there.
Yeah. I've said the word Alexa in my kitchen, and the person, the Alexa answers me, and I didn't even mean her.
Well, why were you saying Alexa?
Just for fun?
It happened once. My wife and I were discussing Billy Joel.
Yes.
And he's got a song, I think it's about his daughter, and Alexa's in the title. So I'm saying to my wife, what's that Billy Joel song about his daughter Alexa, and then over there, disembodied voices going, "May I help you?" or something. Whatever
Yeah,
Alexa
no, that's
says.
happened to me too. I'm having a discussion with my wife in my room, and it's a serious discussion. And then it's like "Moving Out" by Billy Joel. I don't have access to that right now. I was like, what are you talking about? We weren't talking.
Chris Cody, on Thursday night, if people want a riveting conversation like this over nachos and
Rib rolls.
rolls and chicken wings, do you have a favorite Flanagan's item, Billy? Is there one item among all the items that you like more than the others?
How can you pick just one? You know, so many good options.
The cup. Yeah.
The cup is good. The
Yeah.
wings are good.
Love
The
the
ribs
green
are
cup,
good. It's all good.
We're doing this on Thursday night. The Steelers bring their culture of violence to the Browns. I fully expected someone to pull out a samurai sword during that Ravens-Steelers game.
Thursday night's a Steelers trap game, Dan.
Wow.
We should do custom Le Batard Show Flanagan's cups.
Oh.
With my
Okay.
face on
2
them?
days
Yes.
notice.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to do it now, but we could do it at some
We
point.
should.
Put my face where Flanagan's
Yeah.
face is?
Greg kind of looks like
Dannigan's.
Flanagan.
Yeah.
I've been told that.
Have you?
Yeah, Joe Flanagan.
Ah, Papa
Yeah,
Joe.
no, I have.
Joe.
Jeffrey Loria. You know, I look like all kind of people.
You do look like Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zelig. I'm everywhere. Exactly.
Are you going Thursday night?
I had not planned on it.
Yeah.
Which is
Good
not the
sell.
same as saying no or yes.
What if I told you the Browns were playing?
Then I definitely would not go.
It's right by your house. It's in North Miami Beach.
Yeah, it's such a quick hike. You know, can I say one thing about the Pittsburgh-Baltimore rivalry?
Yeah.
The only good rivalry in the NFL. That's the one thing that college football does better is rivalries. When I think of an NFL rivalry, I start and stop with Baltimore-Pittsburgh. What's the second best?
I mean, there are a lot inside of divisions. There are a lot of
Name one that rivals that.
Eagles Cowboys is pretty good.
When they're
Bears
good.
Packers, but the
Right.
Packers own the Bears, so
Well, but is the owning the part of it? Because the Steelers have owned the Ravens. It's a weird
You're
thing.
damn right.
It's a weird thing
They
that's
get no
happened.
credit.
They've won over the last 4 years. Think about what I'm about to say here. Over the last 4 years, one of the teams has the MVP, and that team has lost 8 of the 9 games it has played. Like, that's not how that
Crazy.
one usually goes.
And if you look at those 9 games, right, 8-1 disparity, every one of them is close, and every one of them is like a 19-17 score. It's amazing. I'm not even lying. Look up. All the same game.
Well, this one's Ravens. This one's Browns Steelers. No Ravens. So it's probably going to be a bit of a different matchup. But
One culture of violence.
But Kadarius Toney is there, and that's been pretty fun. He almost scored yesterday. Granted, he finished the game with -7 yards, but he did almost score. You had to watch it to make sense of it. But again, come out and join us this Thursday night, Flanagan's in North Miami Beach, 13205 Biscayne Boulevard for a Thursday night football watch party presented by Miller Lite, a long partner of ours. We're so honored to have that relationship. It's the Steelers, it's the Browns, and it tastes like Miller time.